Chapter 2183. At this moment, Yu doubted herself. She staggered to her feet and saw Su-yi slowly floating down from the sky. His body had long lost its strength, falling down like a speck of dust. Su-yi! Yu rushed up and looked at the surrounding ruins in disbelief. At this moment, Su-yi was not in a good state either. After the mysterious space changed, this was the first time he used the bell, and the effect was gratifying. However, the damage to his soul was unavoidable. Without answering Yu-ning's question, Su-yi sat cross-legged on the ruins. The art of controlling the heavens protected his heart and veins, and the art of origin healed his body. Su-yi's hands continued to form seals without saying a word. Looking at the residual energy in the air entering Su-yi's body, Yu took a deep breath and sat cross-legged on the ground, accompanying Su-yi to heal his injuries. The whistling of the wind sounded, and thunder rumbled in the depths of the sky. Only Su-yi and Yu were left in the wilderness. Walala! In the distance, the voices of more than 10 experts broke through the air. The experts led by Yu had finally arrived. As soon as she landed, Yu-ning's eyelashes fluttered as she felt the vibration of the aura. She opened her eyes and said in a tired and miserable voice, "Grandmother. Where are the people from the Wu family and Yun family?" Yu gaze fell on Su-yi, secretly twitching. Yu then told Yu and the others about the alliance between Ram Star Plume and Rickamon to instigate the inner and outer palace disciples to kill Su-yi. Family head Yu is here? After Qi Feihong's reminder, Su-yi slowly woke up from his recovery. Su-yi, who used the mysterious light ball's energy again, felt a heart-wrenching pain in the depths of his soul after a short period of recovery. Standing up, Su-yi frowned and looked at Yu and Yu. When the latter saw Su-yi stand up, his frown changed from one of relief to one of shock again. That shocking attack had left an indelible and terrifying impression in Yu-ning's heart. However, looking at Su-yi's unharmed appearance, Yu-ning's eyes were filled with doubt. Su-yi, we already know what's going on inside. The Wuma family used the Golden Dragon secret technique to seal the communication barrier and the exit restriction. They also killed a few of the patrolling elders. That's why you've suffered so much. Fortunately, it's a daunting experience without any danger. The heavens bless the ancient sect. At this point, Yu tone became extremely cold. Listening to Yu words, Su-yi sized up the patriarchs who had just entered. Yu had told Su-yi that the Lu family's patriarchs and Gongyang family's patriarchs had been captured. Only the Wu family's patriarchs' whereabouts were unknown. Where's the Yun family's patriarch? Su-yi looked at Yu. Looking around, Yu frowned and pulled Su-yi and Yu to the side. She said softly, "It's an emergency, so I won't hide it from everyone. The patriarch has entered the Nightmare Sea. Now that we've captured the Wu family, Lu family, and Gongyang family, we should leave immediately. We can't stay here for long." Nightmare Sea. Yu-ning's eyes widened. The Yun family's patriarch had actually entered the Nightmare Sea by himself. What's he doing in the Nightmare Sea? Su-yi was somewhat puzzled. There are some secrets inside that he must figure out, Yu said. Immediately after, Yu ordered everyone to leave the Nightmare Sea. Su-yi said softly, "Patriarch Yu, I'll have to trouble you to hand over all the fragments of the Nightmare Sea you've collected to me." Yu suddenly turned around and her voice became a few notches higher. She said softly, "What do you want to do? You also want to enter the Nightmare Sea?" "No. It's too dangerous." Yu decisively rejected Su-yi's request without even thinking about it. She immediately ordered all the patriarchs to search for the whereabouts of the Yun family's disciples. She was preparing to leave the Nightmare Sea and hold a meeting. "Don't tell me you think that because we can't find the Wu family's patriarch, he has escaped from the ancient sect?" Su-yi's words caused Yu to stop in her tracks once again. She slowly turned her head back with a grave expression. Yun Zhongli had used the Yun family's secret art to lure the tiger away from the mountain and sneak into the Nightmare Sea. How could the Wu family not make use of the enmity between Gong Yang, Rickamon, and Su Yi to lure the tiger away from the mountain? Thinking of this, the patriarch's eyes emitted cold rays of light. Shintu Yi stepped forward and said in a low voice, "Su Yi is right. The Wu family has been hiding for so many years, they must have come for the secret of the Nightmare Sea." "That's right. What should we do? For so many years, I've only heard the patriarchs say that they have been to the Nightmare Sea. Who would dare to enter that place? No. If the Wu family enters the Nightmare Sea, this matter will be even more serious. Let's go. Let's go find the Nightmare Sea." Everyone was talking at once. All the experts were discussing spiritedly. Immediately, Sui roared and said to Yuwugo, "That's enough. I'm going to find the Yun family's patriarch." "What? You?" Yuwugo was absent-minded. She shook her head and said, "The Nightmare Sea is extremely dangerous. Not many people in the ancient sect dare to casually step into it. Won't you just die if you go?" "Then you won't die if you go?" Sui immediately asked. Yuninger pulled Yuwugo aside and told her about how Sui killed Ram Starplume in an instant. When they heard that Sui killed 70 to 80 disciples in one move, many patriarchs, including Yuwugo, sucked in a deep breath at the same time. Many shocked discussions sounded. Every gaze that fell on Su Yi's back was incomparably shocked. Looking at the silent faces, Su Yi's eyes overflowed with a majestic domineering aura. He said in a clear voice, "I know that you all blame me for losing Yun Jing, but I want to find Yun Jing more than any of you. For every day that Yun Jing doesn't return, I owe Patriarch Yun my life. Only I can enter." His voice was deep and clear. When it fell into the ears of every expert, a strange fluctuation appeared in the eyes of all the patriarchs. Yuwugo looked deeply at Sui. There was an undetectable excitement in her eyes. Perhaps only Sui could enter. Only Sui could solve Yun Zhongli's situation. "How confident are you?" Yuwugo asked softly. "Enter 30 to 40%. If not, 0. Su Yi's low voice slowly floated out. The last word was like a violent blow to everyone's heart. This was a matter of great importance. None of the patriarchs could have any mishaps. They also couldn't risk sacrificing everyone to enter the Nightmare Sea. Otherwise, the ancient sect's foundation would be destroyed. Looking at the hesitant Yuwugo, Yuning stood out alone and said with determination, "Grandma, if you're worried, I'll go too." No. Everyone in the Yun family rejected her. Only Yuning was left among the top 3. They couldn't afford to lose her. Senior brother Hanshin is inside. Sui will also go in. My Yu family's disciples can only sit and wait for death. Yuning said loudly. Walking to Yuwugo's side, Yuning eyes were cold. "Grandma, believe in Sui and believe in me this time." Yuwugo sighed deeply and turned to look at the patriarchs. A murderous aura surged through her brows. Chapter 2184. Today is a great day for our ancient sect. The Wuma family colluded with the Dragon Sin, and the Lu family harbored evil intentions. Now we can't afford to lose our footing. I'll leave the Nightmare Ocean to the two of you. If we can find Hanshin, the three of us must work together to help the family head eliminate the Wuma family. Yuwugo looked at everyone. Turning around, Yuwugo's eyes were obviously moist. She whispered to Sui and Yuning, "Be careful. We'll wait for your return safely outside. The future of our ancient sect depends on you." Sui and Yuning glanced at each other. Then, the two of them took the fragments from the dark sea that the elders had collected and quickly left. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. 2 sharp lights shot into the sky. Yuwugo murmured absent-mindedly, "Zhongli, there are some things that can't be avoided. This time, our ancient sect can only rely on him." From Yu Ning Yu Wugo knew that Ram Star Plume controlled the fragments of the Nightmare Ocean and confused the minds of many disciples. However, Su Yi could remain unmoved. Based on this point alone, Yu Wugo had no reason to reject Su Yi's request. What kind of secrets Su Yi had, and what kind of abilities he had. That night in the Yu family, she had already found out. If Wuma Di and Wuma Xiu had really planned for the Nightmare Ocean for a long time, Yun Zhongli and Su Jingyuan would be in even more danger in the Nightmare Ocean. Perhaps only then could they break out of this situation. Let's go. The patrolling elders are waiting here. Everyone, follow me out and seize the Gongyang, Lu, and Wuma families. Everyone involved will be waiting at the Rising Cloud Palace. After giving the order, Yu Wugo flicked her sleeves and left without any hesitation. Su Yi brought Yu Ning with him, and did not open the fragments in front of everyone. Looking into the distance, Su Yi threw the specially made space bags on the ground. It was dark and gloomy, making it difficult to see the direction. The vast great desolate realm and the boundless primordial continent were no less than the middle continent. Su Yi knew that if he wanted to find the Nightmare Sea, he could only rely on the fragments in front of him to find a clue. Su Yi stared at the interspatial bag in front of him, then he rubbed his chin and moved his shoulders slightly. Squatting down, Su Yi condensed his hand seals. His mind shook slightly, and an incomparably powerful soul energy instantly spread out. After confirming that everyone had left the desperate situation, Su Yi once again called out the mysterious world. The golden bell fell from the sky and directly enveloped the two of them. After the bell landed on the ground, a deafening golden chime resounded. The world outside the bell was overbearing and desolate. The ancient bell glowed with resplendent light. The runes of the talisman were ancient and sacred. It stood in the air like a giant beast prostrating in the primordial world. Yu Ning, who was surrounded by the bell, witnessed the miraculous scene in front of her, and her heart instantly surged. Looking at the stars in the sky, the whistling of wind and thunder, and the silver-white pillar of light sweeping across like a wild dragon, Yu Ning couldn't help but open her mouth wide. "Retreat!" Su Yi anxiously shouted. As his voice fell, Yu Ning did not hesitate to circulate her energy. She stepped on the profound handle and flew to the edge of the bell. Her astonished gaze trembled slightly. Yu Ning looked at Su Yi's lightning-fast hand seals. Her gaze was even colder. A vast amount of soul energy fell on the specially made interspatial bag. Crash! Dozens of sparkling and translucent glazed tiles fell to the ground. Like the edge of a blade, they instantly cut open several deep marks on the ground. Looking at the incomparably strange fragments in front of him, Su Yi's mind suddenly shook. An ancient aura gradually spread in Su Yi's mind. "You're finally here?" A languid female voice was delicate and pleasant to listen to. It was as if she was whispering in his ear, revealing an ancient aura that transcended the long river of time. Immediately, Su Yi's gaze fluctuated. At the same time, he felt rather emotional. Su Yi's gaze trembled. His feet kept moving, and he couldn't help but slowly walk towards the fragments. Su Yi. Yu Ning gaze swept across the sky. Her expression turned serious. Her soul energy at the 7th level of Origin Ancestor Realm started to throb. With her soul perception, Yu Ning clearly knew that Su Yi had become a little abnormal again. However, she couldn't pinpoint what was abnormal about him. This feeling made Yu Ning feel that Su Yi had returned to the time when he was challenging the soul trial. "Is this the fragment of the Dark Sea?" Outside the bell, Su Wan voice softly sounded. Yu Ning looked up and saw a graceful young lady quickly floating over. Behind her was an old man. It was Qi Feihong. "Su Yi, is everything settled?" Qi Feihong coughed lightly. Hearing the call, Su Yi's heart quickly calmed down. The voice from before didn't appear again. Su Yi, who was on high alert, immediately raised his head. Looking at Su Wan and Qi Feihong, who were walking over, he smiled and nodded. Miss Ning this is the previous sect leader of the demon-subduing sect, Qi Feihong. Su-yi, who didn't think too much, introduced him to Yu Ning behind him. Looking at the two of them, Yu Ning bowed slightly. She heaved a sigh of relief and said, I thought that Miss Wan was also in trouble. It's great that you're fine. Su Wan grabbed Yu Ning's arm and smiled sweetly. She looked at Su-yi and said with a pink face, It's all thanks to Brother Su-yi that you arrived in time. However, Brother Shangwu is still lying in the spiritual pool. Following Su Wan-er's words, Yu Ning-er noticed that the inside of the bell was incomparably spacious. She didn't even notice the 4 spiritual pools in the distance. Wang Shangwu was lying in the spiritual pool where the water heaven-suppressing stone was. Dense and hazy yuan qi light enveloped Wang Shangwu's body. His face was still pale, but his aura was much stronger. Immediately, Yu Ning's heart felt like a stone had been lifted off the ground. She sized up this vast and mysterious space. The water heaven-suppressing stone above Wang Shangwu's head spun continuously. Yu Ning naturally knew what it was. Looking at the cold and vast water attribute energy, Yu Ning's heart was filled with shock. Her gaze unconsciously landed on Su-yi's body. Just what kind of secret was he hiding? If any one of these things were taken out, it would definitely cause a huge wave in the Tian barbarian continent. This mysterious world could even resist the Black Sea fragment, which was a terrifying demonic creature. Perhaps this was the reason why Su-yi was so abnormal. Now, Su-yi was able to openly display it in front of her. This was a kind of trust, a kind of absolute trust between comrades. Pursing her lips, Yu Ning's heart swayed again. Her thoughts gradually drifted. Why didn't she meet him first? Qi Feihong stood beside Su-yi. He stroked his beard and smiled. Su-yi, I've already planted the spiritual cultivating mud in the field for you. Wanner has found it for you. Chapter 2185. The 3 things that Suruga needed, vein-opening vine, snow tobacco, and spirit-nourishing mud, were all gathered. Su-yi, who was concentrating on studying the fragments, slapped his forehead. Back then, Wang Shangwu and Su Wan'er were tricked by the spirit-nourishing mud to go to Lu Linxuan's place. That's great. The remaining Bodhi Voodoo and Tian Xiang pistol might also be here. Su-yi's lips curled into a smile as he nodded. Holding the Shui Hai fragment tightly in his hand, the dazzling light shone on Su-yi's excited face, revealing an indescribable excitement. It was hard to imagine, if his master Suruga could recover his appearance and regain his past strength, what kind of scene would that be? I really want Master to recover his strength as soon as possible. Su-yi's lips curled up as he continued to look at the fragments in his hand. Did you find any clues? Yu Ning walked forward. The soul energy from the demonic light still made it difficult for her to breathe. Casually picking up a Shui Hai fragment, Su-yi squinted his eyes and suddenly let out a golden cry in the air. It was like the roar of an ancient beast, or the call of a 9 underworld divine bird. Beside him, Su Wan'er and Qi Feihong looked at Su-yi and Yu Ning's strange expressions, their gazes slightly trembling. After a while, Su-yi came back to his senses, as if his soul had traveled to the void. Looking around, Qi Feihong's expression was normal, while Yu Ning was the same as him, pale and unsettled. Su-yi felt a little strange. His gaze locked onto Wan'er's calm face as he said softly, Wan'er, don't you feel the pain in your soul? Su Wan'er shook her head in fear as she looked at the Shui Hai fragment in Su-yi's hand, her eyes filled with confusion. No, one only feels very sad, as if she has experienced many years of grudges and feelings. After saying this, Su Wan'er's eyes began to turn red, and tears of excitement began to appear on her beautiful face. Then, Su-yi hurriedly collected all the fragments and handed them over to Qi Feihong. This thing is too good at confusing people's minds. No wonder so many people have been harmed by it, Su-yi said with a smile. As he spoke, He pulled Su Wan to his side and affectionately patted her head. Looking at Su-yi, who was finally safe, Su Wan wanted to cry out loud. She sniffled and finally buried herself in Su-yi's arms. That familiar feeling, after nearly 5 years, was found again. Su-yi also sighed softly. He didn't expect that things would remain the same, but people would change. He and his sister Wan would meet in such a desperate situation. Then what should we do? The Wuma family and the Yun family should be together. The family head's traces are vague. Why don't we find Yun Hanchen and the others first? Looking at the intimate siblings, Yuning felt bitter and opened her mouth slightly. Hearing Yuning words, Su Wan embarrassedly withdrew from Su-yi's arms and lowered her head. You guys talk. I'll go check on Uncle Hong. After saying this, Su Wan walked towards Chi Feihong, who was studying the fragments. Su-yi looked around. It was an unchanging land of death. It was dark and gloomy, and everything within 1,000 miles was a ruined scene. In this endless space, where could he find traces of Yun Hanchen and the Wuma family? Is there a special way for the Yu family and the Yun family to contact each other? Su-yi raised his eyebrows. After pondering for a moment, Yuning hesitated for a moment before taking out a white and translucent bottle from her space bag. Inside, there was a big-eyed beast with fangs baring its fangs and brandishing its claws. This is my Yu family's scent confusing beast. Back then, Yun Jing and I were like sisters. We each had one. As long as we took it out, we could find each other's scent. She pushed the jade bottle to Su-yi. Su-yi looked at the little beast in his palm in a daze and whispered, "What does this have to do with Yun Hanchen?" Yuning raised her eyebrows and smiled without showing her teeth. She said, "Back then, Yun Jing won against Yun Hanchen in front of everyone because of the Yun Roll Grand Art. In order to prevent him from losing confidence, Jing gave Yun Hanchen a handkerchief." What? Su-yi was confused. Yuning continued, "Everyone knows that Yun Hanchen is in love with Yun Jing. I reckon that he always carries that handkerchief with him. This is the perfect time to use it." Is that so? Su-yi took a deep breath. This was not the time to think too much. He immediately released the scent-confusing beast from the bottle. Once it was released, the little beast instantly grew to the size of a palm. Its eyes were as bright as copper bells. The high frequency of its vibrations caused ripples to appear in the surrounding space. Whoosh! Whoosh! Yuning formed a seal in her hand. The scent-confusing beast immediately cried out. Its wings released a terrifying sound as it roared towards the north. The north! It's the north! Su Wan and Chi Feihong's voices could be heard from behind. Su-yi and Yuning immediately went forward. They saw 5 pieces of dark sea fragments of different sizes in front of Su Wan. There were several interconnected patterns on the fragments. Flowing lights flickered continuously and quickly gathered to form a traceable ball of light. This is... Su-yi's expression changed greatly as he looked at the patterns carefully. I only used my intuition to pick out the dark sea fragments and piece them together to form this. Immediately, Su-yi and Yuning looked at Su Wan in shock. The runes were connected from head to tail. The desolate and cold fragments were instantly filled with vitality because of these lines. On the pattern, there was only a faint imprint. Moreover, it pointed towards the spirit sacrifice abyss in the north before it stopped. The scent-confusing beast and the fragments are both pointing towards the north. It should not be wrong. Let's go, Su-yi said in a low voice. Everyone nodded. In the spirit sacrifice abyss in the north, they would definitely find something. Putting away the mysterious space, Su Wan and Chi Feihong remained in the mysterious space. Su-yi and Yuning soared through the void. Under the guidance of the scent-confusing beast, they quickly headed towards the north. Along the way, they followed the scent-confusing beast, jumping up and down, flying close to the ground, diving into the valleys and finally climbing up the mountains. After half a day, Sui could more and more feel a deathly aura in front of them. The gloomy and withered spiritual chi made Su Yi's heart tremble. We're almost there. Moving through the air, Sui looked at the gloomy mountain range in front of them. The mountain range in front of them overlapped with each other. Gales blew through it, bringing with them a terrifying whimpering sound, adding to the terror. Behind them, Yuning did not say a word. She only vigilantly looked at the deep valley in front of her. Everywhere was barren land, revealing a desolate and gloomy atmosphere. On the protruding rock walls all around, there was a black mist gushing out. Yuning and Su-yi stood side by side on a high branch, unable to help their hearts palpitating. The scent confusing beast and the map indicate that we are here, but there seems to be no traces of anyone passing through here. Yuning said doubtfully. She vigilantly looked back at the mountain wall. Why was the entire spirit sacrifice abyss only a huge valley? Chapter 2186. Could it be that this isn't the spirit sacrifice abyss? Su-yi rubbed his chin and put away the smell-confusing beast. With that, Su-yi took out the shuttle shadow pill and a bottle of spirit liquid from Shangguan Tianqin and gave it to Yuning. Let's go down and take a look. Take care of yourself later. Su-yi looked forward with a cold expression. Little did he know that Yuning behind him was incomparably moved. Tightly grasping the bottle Su-yi gave her, Yuning swallowed the shadow shuttle pill and quickly retracted her aura. Holding the spirit liquid in her hand, a strong energy pressure seeped into her heart. Yuning moved closer and smelled it. She couldn't help but smile and carefully put it into her spatial bag. Su-yi, who didn't notice the change in Yuning expression, looked at the 12 statues of divine beasts on the mountain wall. Isn't that a phoenix? That's a golden dragon. Qi Feihong's excited voice floated out from the depths of Su-yi's soul. Su-yi lowered his body and looked into the distance. His eyes immediately glowed brightly. In this valley, there were 12 statues of divine beasts on the mountain wall. Su-yi's gaze fell on the most dazzling statue of the immemorial golden dragon. Suddenly, the lifelike dragon's eyes looked at him. Su-yi could feel the blood in his body boiling for no reason. Golden patterns spread out and dragon patterns began to appear on his hand. In his eyes, a faint golden light flashed. Su-yi took a deep breath and circulated the immemorial dragon breath, dispelling the terrifying feeling in his heart. Immediately after, he looked at the other statues of the white tiger, black tortoise, phoenix, and ice phoenix. Looking at them, Su-yi also felt his blood boiling. He felt the joy of reuniting with an old friend. In a trance, what appeared in front of Su-yi was a scene of a primordial world of beasts that could move mountains and overturn seas. Su-yi looked at the statues that were connected to his soul. Only he knew what kind of turmoil this was. Could it be that the iron soulfish was right about this place being related to the great ancient calamity? Spirit sacrifice abyss. Su-yi muttered to himself, his heart trembling for no reason. Could it be that this ancient continent was where the god race, the monster race, the golden dragon race, the phoenix race, the white tiger race, and the phoenix race lived and multiplied? Su-yi's eyes flickered with fervor as the aura of savagery spread through his heart. He turned to Yuning behind him and whispered, "Let's go. Let's go down." Yuning pursed her lips and followed Su-yi down the mountain path. When they reached the middle of the path, the two stopped at the same time. What a powerful pressure! Su-yi whispered and stood in front of Yuning. A powerful ancient aura burst out and wrapped around Yuning. On the flat ground between the mountains, a ferocious explosion sounded from within the white tiger statue and the black tortoise statue. Boom! A snow-white figure flew out from the mouth of the ferocious white tiger. Although his aura was weak, he had already reached the 8th level of the origin ancestor stage. Yun Hanshin! Su-yi narrowed his eyes, but his attention was quickly attracted by the few figures behind him. The 6 silhouettes behind him were connected, and the 6 of them formed mysterious hand seals under their black robes. The strange cold black fog seemed to be connected to their bodies, and finally converged into a huge black ball of light that attacked Yun Hanshin. Yun Hanshin, don't run. The people who spoke were naturally from the Wu clan. In the entire ancient Cloud Immortal sect, only the Wu clan could dress like that. Sui immediately heaved a sigh of relief. It seemed like he was heading in the right direction. His gaze was fixed on the battle circle. You want to kill me? Trash like you. Yun Hanshin shouted as the Wu clan's people looked at him craftily. His weak aura surged again, and the pressure on his body was released. Instantly, a terrifying energy exploded. Yun Hanshin, who was panicking, was surging with energy waves. A mysterious white energy sword wave rolled and expanded wildly. It followed the trajectory behind him and attacked the black ball of light. Bang! With a dull sound, the energy exploded like a sonic boom. A dazzling light lingered in the surroundings, and Yun Hanshin's figure took the opportunity to escape, flying into the distance. There should be someone in the black tortoise statue, Sui muttered. Behind him, Yuning-er's eyes were bright as she looked at the pale and exhausted Yun Hanshin. She whispered, "Should we go and help?" "Don't be impatient." Sui waved his hand. Although 1 or 2 of the 6 Wu clan members had reached the origin ancestor stage, it would still be difficult for them to kill Yun Hanshin, who was ranked first in the ancient sect. Just as Sui finished speaking, Yun Hanshin did not slow down and was already very close to the black tortoise statue. Yun Hanshin, who was covered in blood, suddenly felt a gravitational force explode from the black tortoise statue. Not good. On the stone wall of the statue, a fierce light flashed once again. A black figure suddenly charged out, releasing a shocking murderous intent. The dense, cold energy, along with a strong killing intent, rushed toward Yun Hanshin, who was caught off guard. Boom! All of a sudden, Yun Hanshin's battle armor stood up like feathers, and as he raised his sword to block, his left hand swung back and forth, releasing a powerful aura. Boom! Suddenly, a dazzling white energy spread out. Wind and clouds surged in the sky above the valley, and large patches of space exploded. Bang! In the next second, Yun Hanshin turned into a stream of light and fled like a beast that had been knocked down. After his feet rubbed against the ground for a long distance, Yun Hanshin, who could no longer support himself, fell to one knee and spat out a mouthful of black blood. Looking in the direction of the explosion, Yun Hanshin's gaze was extremely fierce as he shouted, "Wu Mashio! It's Wu Mashio!" Yuning-er took a deep breath. Judging from the attack just now, Wu Mashio's cultivation was not below Yun Hanshin's. Sui, who also noticed the abnormality, looked back and forth between Wu Mashio and the disciples behind him. Such a powerful attack was too different from what he had seen before. It seems like the Wu Mashio family has received a lot of benefits from the Long family, Sui said with a gloomy gaze. Among the people from the Wu Mashio family, only Wu Mashio could be seen. The family head, Wu Madi, might have already gone deep into the abyss and found the Nightmare Sea. Thinking of this, Sui could not help but feel his heart tighten. He raised his hand and secretly activated the ice crystal barrier. Now, he could only restrain his aura to the extreme and look for an opportunity to kill in one strike. Only then could he stop Wu Madiqing faster. Standing behind him, Yuning-er was stunned as she personally experienced the magic of cloud shadow treading frost. Her eyes were filled with splendor. Looking at the back in front of her, Yuning-er's mind was filled with endless thoughts. Chapter 2187. Ha ha ha! Wu Mashio, who was covered in a black robe, stood upright. His eyes emitted an energy that could devour life force. The Wu Mashio disciples behind him also smiled evilly as they walked towards Yun Hanshin. You didn't take the path to heaven and barged into hell instead. Yun Hanshin, Can't you just focus on your Yun family art? Wu Mashio crossed his arms as a thick black smoke appeared from where he stood. Yun Hanshin frowned as he slowly wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. He said coldly, "What benefits did the Long family promise you? How did they make you so shameless?" Hearing this, Wu Mashio's eyes lit up, and a terrifying explosive force burst out from his body. He attacked Yun Hanshin from a tricky angle. Just as a miserable scream left his throat, it was forcefully stopped by Yun Hanshin. He clutched the hole in his arm and his body trembled as he said, "Today, I have failed to live up to my master's expectations. I have failed the ancient sect's ancestors by not being able to execute all of you. The ancient sect will not let you go." "You're mentioning the ancient sect to me? It seems that as the number one person in the younger generation, you don't understand how people like us feel, right?" Wu Mashio's lips curled up as a terrifying light shot out from his robe. He kicked out again as a strong gust of wind blew up the surrounding rocks. The sharp rocks shot towards Yun Hanshin's body like thousands of arrows. Pua! A blood-curdling scream rang out as Yun Hanshin's body was covered in blood. The rocks shot into his chest like cannonballs, creating a terrifying scarlet color. Even if he had a protective armor, it was completely destroyed. The shattered armor was like a stream of light that lingered around Yun Hanshin for a while before completely dissipating. Wu Mashio's mouth twitched as he stomped heavily on Yun Hanshin's shoulder. Blood spurted out and Yun Hanshin saw stars. Looking at Yun Hanshin, who was a little weak, Wu Mashio gave an order. The 6 Wu Mashio disciples behind him formed hand seals as a strange black fog array suddenly rose and locked onto Yun Hanshin's limbs. Clang! A streak of light flashed through the air. The Hanshin longsword that was kicked away landed in front of Su Yi and Yu Ning. Yu Ning, who was awakened by the violent shockwave, whispered to Su Yi, "Let's go save him." Su Yi shook his head and his brows furrowed deeply. Wu Mashio in front of him seemed to be able to reveal a lot of secrets. Bad people were always talkative, so there was no need to rush to save Yun Hanshin. Immediately after, the 2 people who were watching quietly lowered their bodies even more. The cold mist in the narrow ice crystal was serene, but it couldn't resist the girl's fiery heart. "Restrain your aura a little more. The Wu clanspeople have taken the Long clan's elixir, so their spiritual senses are much stronger than usual," Su Yi reminded in a low voice. Afraid that Su Yi would notice her abnormality, Yu Ning quickly shook her head and returned to normal. She said softly, "Okay." On the flat ground at the bottom of the mountain, Yun Hanshin was being trampled under Wu Mashio's feet. His eyes were filled with hatred like that of a wild beast. "Yes. Continue. That's the look. I like to see you go crazy." Wu Mashio raised his head and breathed in the air of victory with incomparable enjoyment. Following that, Wu Mashio placed the curved blade in his hand on Yun Hanshin's face and said indifferently, "Your skin is really good looking. But why can't you gain Yunjing's favor?" "Yunjing," Su Yi said in a low voice. The way Yu Ning looked at Su Yi also changed in an instant. "It's not up to you to talk about the matter between Yunjing and me. You're a bastard who deceives his master and destroys his ancestors. How can an ugly person like Yunjing?" Yun Hanshin struggled madly. Under the lingering black mist, his terrifying aura quickly turned into nothingness. Bang! Another heavy blow. Wu Mashio's vital energy attack landed on Yun Hanshin's body. He roared coldly, "Yes, I'm ugly, but Yunjing has never looked at you highly. In my eyes you're also trash. A good-looking piece of trash." Following that, Wu Mashio tore off his robe. His entire face was like that of a ferocious insect beast. His cold eyes were extremely small, and his face was filled with small insects. His mouth was split open to his cheeks, and his fangs were crisscrossing. It was definitely incomparably terrifying. Su Yi sucked in a breath of cold air. Was this still a human? This was 100 times uglier than the ugliest barbaric beast he had ever seen. Soon, Sui heard Yu Ning retching. Sui couldn't help but bitterly laugh as he reached out to comfort her. With this terrifying face, Wuma Xiu instantly approached Yun Hanshan. The latter was also startled. The stench of blood mixed with the black mist drifted over as Wuma Xiu shouted loudly. Ancient sect. What a great family! Tens of thousands of years ago, my Wuma family's ancestor had contributed greatly to the establishment of the ancient sect. In order to establish the sect, my ancestor was seriously injured by an insect. The virus that was left behind has been passed down through the bloodline for generations. In order to survive, the descendants of the Wuma family have to be eaten by insects from a young age. Insects are their life, and insects are their blood. Wuma Xiu seemed to be mocking himself as he began to scream again. His voice was hoarse and shook the sky, like the summoning of a demonic beast. Instantly, the hysterical Wuma Xiu stared at Yun Hanshan under his feet and said softly, "But is this our fault? The Wuma family has never been welcomed by the 9 families. I, Wuma Xiu, have also been ridiculed by all of you. Insect man. And disgusting insect. These are all your words. What a nice name. A bunch of ungrateful bastards." "It's not what you think." Before Yun Hanshan could finish his words, he was hit by Wuma Xiu again. Instantly, blood spurted out of his mouth. Dong, dong, dong. Wuma Xiu grabbed Yun Hanshan's head and slammed it into the ground. After 3 consecutive thuds, cracks spread out like a spider web. "You confessed to Bai Yunjing in front of everyone during the cloud roll art. I was furious. I also liked her, but she would never accept me in her life. But in the end, you also failed. From then on, I knew that only the strong can get everything they want," Wuma Xiu said viciously before laughing coldly. At this moment, Yun Hanshan's face was dripping with blood and his aura was gradually weakening. He looked at the repulsive Wuma Xiu without saying a word. "Don't look at me like that. The ancient sect forced us to do this. Draconis promised my father that he would find the secret of the Nightmare Sea and bring back Su Waner. Then, my Wuma family will be the master of the ancient sect." Wuma Xiu's eyes widened as his red eyes were filled with excitement. After speaking, Wuma Xiu straightened his body. His eyes were incomparably ruthless. A black mist spread from his palm to his blade as he smashed it towards Yun Hanshan's head. At this moment, it was as if Wuma Xiu wanted to blast all the resentment he had accumulated over the years at Yun Hanshan. Just as Wuma Xiu's blade was about to reach Yun Hanshan's head, a blood-red sword appeared out of nowhere and collided with it. Chapter 2188. Bam! The violent shockwave was extremely terrifying. The 6 Wu Ma family disciples behind him did not expect that someone would suddenly appear, so they withdrew the black fog chains from their hands. Rumble! Wu Ma Xiu and the 6 Wu Ma family disciples retreated as they watched the ice crystals in the air scatter. Su Yi landed on the ground in his green robe. The strong wind that filled the air lifted a few strands of hair on Su Yi's forehead, revealing a pair of fierce eyes. "Who are you?" Wu Ma Xiu looked at Su Yi, who had removed his disguise, and his eyes were filled with vigilance. Behind him, Yu Ning had already helped Yun Hanshan up and retreated to the side. After listening to Yu Ning's introduction, Yun Hanshan's bloodshot eyes flickered. Looking at Wu Ma Xiu up close, Su Yi finally realized what the ugliest person in the world looked like. When he sensed that Su Yi was only at the 5th level of Origin Ancestor stage, Wu Ma Xiu was instantly relieved. He lowered his gaze and asked, "Kid, are you from the Yun family?" Su Yi shook his head. "Then, do you want to die?" Wu Ma Xiu's brows were completely flat as he stared coldly at Su Yi. Su Yi still shook his head. "Kid, our boss is asking you a question. How dare you not answer?" The Wu Ma family disciples behind him said viciously. Su Yi, who could no longer hold it in, bent down and retched a few times. He touched his forehead and said, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. I'm too ugly. I really can't hold it in anymore. You're courting death. The 6 Wu Ma family disciples behind him opened their robes, revealing 6 equally ugly faces to Su Yi. Wu Ma Xiu was furious. The black fog around him burst out, and his killing intent surged. Kid, you're the first person who dares to speak to me like this. Upon hearing this, Su Yi's face turned solemn. A desolate and ancient aura surged out from his body. Twisting his neck, Su Yi lightly moved his feet. His vigorous energy aura carried a soul-shaking metallic sound, and a crack appeared on the ground beneath him. What a coincidence, you're also the first person to talk to me like this. Su Yi narrowed his eyes, secretly comparing the difference in strength between him and his enemy. He was currently at the 5th level of the Origin Ancestor realm, while the other party had 2 first-level Origin Ancestor realm experts and 4 Origin Emperors. Wu Ma Xiu, who had the highest cultivation base, had already reached the 8th level of the Origin Ancestor stage because of the Long family's methods. Now, without the help of powerful assistants and formations, he could no longer defy the heavens and kill peerless experts. The profound spirit fire crystal had just been refined. Even Su Yi wasn't sure how long the energy within could sustain the sorrow extermination heavenly star. However, under the precondition that he didn't rashly activate the grief destruction heavenly star or utilize the energy of the large bell, Su Yi was confident that he could fight a first-level Origin Domain stage expert head-on by relying on the Emperor Sparrow's methods and the Origin Supreme technique. Dealing with these people in front of him was just a little more strenuous. There was still the Nightmare Ocean and Wu Madi behind him. Su Yi wasn't prepared to reveal his full strength here. Then I'll just play with you bugs. Su Yi let out a long breath, his gaze landing on the ugly faces of the bugs. In the gloomy atmosphere, the black fog brought about by the rotting bugs was extremely pungent. It was as though the surrounding space was about to be completely corroded. In an instant, Wu Ma Xiu and the Wu family recovered from their shock. Wu Ma Xiu shouted, "Presumptuous! Kill this bastard for me! Snatch Yu Ning er!" Boom! Su Yi curled the corner of his mouth and glanced at the 2 people behind him. He instantly executed the Rising Yao's 100 transformation steps to the maximum and aimed at the 6 people who were approaching first. Buzz! Using the same trick, 6 black shadows crisscrossed in the air. The black fog in their hands was like chains that wrapped around Su Yi's limbs. With such a strong corrosive stench, Su Yi sensed that if he was caught by these chains, not only would his flesh be corroded, his mind would also be greatly affected. 6 Insect Formation. The 6 people shouted in unison. A sharp whistling sound exploded in the air, and the 6 figures instantly surrounded Su Yi. The speed at which they gathered was far beyond Su Yi's imagination. GG. Tens of thousands of terrifying insects resounded through the sky like the wailing of ghosts. They pierced through space and bombarded Su Yi. Boom! The god-slaying sword once again hovered in Su Yi's hand. The moment he took it out, a tender voice came from the sword. Master, it stinks! Are you stirring shit?" Su Yi, who didn't have time to introduce himself, stepped on the profound handle and moved back and forth. His figure was like the wind as he moved the heavy sword, breaking the 6 black fog chains apart. GG. When the sword cut through the chains, it didn't cause much of a ripple. Only then did Su Yi notice that the black fog was actually filled with tiny insects. They gathered and scattered and gathered again. There was no end to them. Not good. This is a little troublesome. Realizing the power of this formation, the 6 people combined their strength. An ordinary 5th-level Origin Ancestor could not compare to them. If Su Yi didn't break through the formation quickly, his mind would soon be corroded by these insects. Indeed, they were not easy to deal with. Su Yi looked at the insects in the air, and his heart trembled. With a flash of light, Su Yi aimed at the hundreds of larvae that had taken advantage of the opening, and a fierce wave of energy shot out from his chest. Roar! Instantly, the aura of the entire place surged, and waves of shocking energy and energy blasted out, dispersing the insects that were devouring life force. The ferocious roar of a beast shattered the sky. It was the White Flood Dragon God's first innate skill, sound wave attack. The 6 people who had been shaken by the dragon roar to the point that they lost their sense of direction instantly slowed down. So strong! Yun Hanshin, who was recovering at the side, opened his eyes when he heard the roar. Seeing that the 6-combination insect formation could last for so long, his heart was already in turmoil. Su Yi, be careful. Yu Ning looked at Wu Ma Xiu, who was behind her. He was circulating his energy with both hands, and his eyes were bloodshot. His 8th-level origin ancestor's strength exploded. Roar! Behind Wu Ma Xiu, an extremely ugly shadow of a gigantic insect was forming, filling the entire space. Within the gigantic insect, dozens of forked, sticky tongues were moving crazily like terrifying tentacles. At that moment, the corners of Wu Ma Xiu's mouth had begun to split open, revealing a scarlet mouth. The smell was pungent and unpleasant. Bang! After swinging the heavy sword in his hand in a huge arc, Su Yi instantly broke away from the 6-combination insect formation and looked into the distance. At that moment, the 6 people had gathered behind Wu Ma Xiu. A trail of blood could be seen at the corner of Wu Ma Xiu's mouth as he roared at Su Yi. Exterminate the god insect region. Kill. Wu Ma Xiu's voice was like a wild beast's roar, and his voice reverberated through the sky. In the next second, the insects behind Wu Ma Xiu gradually materialized. Their bloodshot eyes were like a ferocious beast's as they attacked Su Yi valiantly. G. Kacha kacha kacha. The insects that covered the sky and earth formed a gigantic ferocious beast, and a dark ray of light burst out from its gigantic and terrifying mouth. On the walls of the valley, the space rippled. At that moment, it was as though it had become a world of insects. Just looking at it would make one's soul tremble. Chapter 2189. Take good care of Yun Hanshin. Back off. Su Yi's eyes darkened as he set up the demon god battle armor. The 6-way insect formation had already exceeded his expectations. The huge black light in front of him was enough to turn an ordinary person into slag. 1. Circulating the Origin Supreme technique with all his might, Su Yi felt a desolate dragon's breath rush to his forehead. Su Yi raised the god-slaying sword above his head and smiled. Ping-er, these insects are very nutritious. The thin figure stood in the air as his aura exploded to the extreme. When Su Yi opened his eyes again, they were filled with endless killing intent. 1. The killing sword intent streaked across the sky like a star in the night sky, tearing apart the endless darkness. Chi-la. In the entire heaven and earth, ferocious energy collided crazily. The violent force shattered the space in front of them, and large pieces of rocks were shattered. The shock wave that was sent out directly shattered a small mountain in the distance into half. Facing such a terrifying shock wave, Wu Ma Xiu obviously did not expect it. Violent blood qi gushed out and was caught by the 6 Origin Emperor Realm disciples. Looking at the sky and the safe and sound Su Yi, Wu Ma Xiu clutched his chest as a trace of shock flashed across his ugly face. Following which, Wu Ma Xiu's eyes revealed a trace of shock. Su Yi. Yu Ning was shouting for Su Yi just now. See! Wu Ma Xiu's mouth twitched as he gave a look to the 6 people behind him. Immediately, under the protection of the 6 people, he rushed towards the entrance of the black tortoise statue. With just this bit of ability, you still dare to go against me. Su Yi's arm shook as his sword shot out once again. The 6-way insect formation met the attack once again. In an instant, the pervasive insects once again surrounded Su Yi's body. This time, Su Yi was not in a hurry. As someone who possessed the demon-subduing illusionary canon, he knew all the demonic beasts in the world. Just now, when the insects suddenly enlarged, Su-yi immediately found an ancient record. Spirit-devouring demonic ants. Ancient demonic beasts. What's there to be afraid of? The corners of Su-yi's lips curled upwards. Bang! A ferocious blood-red light shot out like a raging dragon. The killing sword will was infused with the domineering power of the supreme art of origin. It was aimed directly at the weakest point of the six paths insect chain. Bang! The insects and ants in the sky scattered, and the dense black fog dissipated in the sky. Only a fierce hissing sound could be heard. A whoa! The ferocious and miserable insect screeches resounded through the clouds like the sound of a saw. Instantly, the 6 chains of black insects turned into 6 streams of strange energy and quickly collapsed. Low, muffled noises could be heard without end. Bang bang! 6 streaks of cold energy filled the void. After the heavy impact, ripples of black fog directly erupted. The chains were broken, and people were dead. The bodies of the Wuma family's 6 figures suddenly exploded, and they fled into the distance. In the time it took for a spark to fly off a piece of flint, blood splattered down along with the smell of blood. Who? Above the void, Su-yi puffed out his chest and looked around. Under the light of the supreme art of origin, there wasn't a trace of blood or filth. Pay pay pay! Ping-er cried miserably within the killing god's sword and ignored Su-yi. Su-yi! Yuning-er flew to his side. Behind her, the heavily injured Yun Hanshin didn't care about his own safety and also flew into the sky. Looking at Yuning-er, he could feel the fluctuations in Yun Hanshin's eyes. Su-yi asked Yun Hanshin, Wuma Xiao went to the black tortoise statue. What's the situation inside? Yun Hanshin took a deep breath and his eyes were cold as he sized up the spirit sacrifice abyss. After entering this desperate situation, I obeyed Master's orders and followed the Wuma family. I followed them all the way here. At the beginning, when Yun Hanshin and the Yun family arrived at the spirit sacrifice abyss, they watched as the Wuma family entered the black tortoise statue. After entering the black tortoise statue, it was an empty space. However, the deeper they went, the more dangerous it was. Almost all of the Yun family members had died inside. In the end, Yun Hanshin encountered the Wuma family in the black tortoise statue. He had been running around randomly and never expected that he would walk out of the white tiger statue. He went in from the black tortoise statue and came out from the white tiger statue? Yuning-er's eyes were filled with doubt. Yun Hanshin nodded heavily and looked at the white tiger statue. He still had some lingering fear in his heart. Hearing this, Su-yi lightly nodded. He guessed that Wuma Xiao must have grasped the secret. Otherwise, how could he sneak attack Yun Hanshin from the black tortoise statue? If that's the case, these 12 statues should be 12 independent small worlds. The Wuma family must have found a way to enter the Nightmare Sea. Su-yi's eyes suddenly lit up. Turning around, Su-yi looked at the wounds on Yun Hanshin's body and handed half a bottle of spiritual liquid to him. Consume it. You guys stay here and heal. I'll go after Wuma Xiao. Su-yi said indifferently. I'll go too. Su-yi shook his head and looked at Yun Hanshin. He said softly, If anyone from the Wuma family comes out, are you prepared to send Yun Hanshin to his death? At that moment, Yuning-er was speechless. Su-yi smiled and turned towards the black tortoise statue. Su-yi. Yun Hanshin clenched the spiritual liquid in his hand as his starry eyes flashed with emotions. In the air, Su-yi, who had stopped in his tracks, was slightly startled. Then, he immediately raised a shallow arc. Ah Jing's choice is correct. I'll leave the ancient sect to you. Yun Hanshin lowered his brows and said unwillingly. Beside him, Yuning-er had a bitter expression. When the two of them raised their heads at the same time, a bright icy blue light flashed in the air. The black tortoise statue suddenly emitted a dazzling light. At this point, the clues to the Nightmare Sea had been cut off at the spiritual sacrifice abyss. Only by finding Wumashio could they quickly find the Nightmare Sea. After entering the Black Tortoise Abyss, Su-yi immediately felt that he was in an extremely desolate world. The desolate grassland stretched as far as the eye could see. There was not a single trace of life to speak of. Looking up at the sky, the dazzling mist outlined the patterns of divine beasts. Divine clouds covered the sky, and the intertwining halos were like divine chains. Closing his eyes and listening carefully, in addition to the ancient Sanskrit chanting, there was also the prelude of an ancient sacrifice. It was sacred, majestic, and domineering. Is this really the habitat of the Black Tortoise? As an elder of the demon-subduing sect, Chi Feihong was already kneeling on the ground, incomparably respectful. Carefully walking on the withered grassland and looking around, Su-yi subconsciously felt that there was a pair of divine eyes looking down at him from the depths of the sky. In the boundless sky, Su-yi circulated his yuan qi slightly. He could feel a boundless energy that seemed to connect heaven and earth, rushing straight to his soul. Didn't they say that this place is filled with danger? Su-yi asked doubtfully. Immediately, Su-yi's consciousness probed the area. Inwardly, he guessed that even if this was the habitat of the Black Tortoise probably didn't exist in this world anymore. After probing for a long time without any results, Su-yi decided to let loose and dashed towards the depths of the Black Tortoise secret territory. Chapter 2190. Flying close to the ground, the deeper Su-yi explored, the more intense the throbbing in his heart became. Looking around, Su-yi could feel the cold aura everywhere. The cold energy even caused the space in front of Su-yi to distort to the extreme. The extremely low temperature in the air penetrated into Su-yi's mysterious soul. Su-yi seemed to hear the clear sound of the mysterious bell in his mind. For no reason, Su-yi's heart trembled. This was an invisible connection between the bell and the Black Tortoise world. Boom! At this time, Su-yi had already gone deep into the heart of the Black Tortoise world for a long time. Suddenly, he discovered that there were spatial cracks in the sky, and wave after wave of desolate and fiendish aura accompanied by cold light rushed towards him. When Su-yi stopped, 7 or 8 fierce beasts formed by spatial ripples actually ran out from the spatial cracks in all directions. Even though the speed was too fast and he could not see the whole picture, Su-yi could still feel the terror of this group of fierce beasts. Focusing carefully, Su-yi discovered that the fierce beasts were very small in size, but each of them had a dragon head and a turtle's back. A huge blade-like tail swept across the ground like a steel whip. On top of the fierce beasts, there was a huge dragon-head python that was spitting out a demonic light. Pung pung pung. In that short moment, Su-yi's eyes were filled with shock. He had never seen such fierce beasts before. In the pitch-black spatial cracks, countless cold shrieks accompanied by terrifying energy seemed to want to swallow Su-yi whole. The fierce beasts rushed over, and the rolling killing aura was aimed at Su-yi's position. In an instant, Su-yi felt the ferocity of the incoming beasts. Yuan Qi suddenly gathered under his feet, preparing to dodge the attacks of the group of beasts. In his mind, Chi Feihong finally saw the appearance of the fierce beasts formed by the spatial ripples. Chi Feihong exclaimed, "Oh my God! Isn't this the Black Tortoise divine beast?" Hearing this, without the slightest hesitation, Su-yi's figure streaked across the sky like a bomb, bringing with it a dazzling icy blue light, as if it had grown eyes and fled at high speed. Roar! The Black Tortoise divine beasts formed by the energy ripples grew in number as they charged towards Su-yi. Their ferocious beast heads looked as if they were alive, ferocious and terrifying. The murderous aura suddenly engulfed the entire heaven and earth, and in an instant, 7 or 8 Black Tortoise little divine beasts clawed at Su-yi. The destructive energy made it impossible for him to escape. Rumble! A large area of space was blasted apart by the black tortoise's attack, and pitch-black spatial cracks were revealed. The earth-shattering sonic booms shook the souls of those who heard them. Chi-la! Su-yi shuttled back and forth between the terrifying attacks, and the violent energy around him collapsed into a circular arc above the void. Soon, Su-yi's range of movement became smaller and smaller, and countless spatial ripples bloomed in the air like fireworks. Looking at the space where there was no way out, Su-yi was secretly anxious. Yun Hanshin is quite capable to be able to escape from the encirclement, Su-yi exclaimed. Then, Su-yi gritted his teeth, and his eyes flashed. A majestic, desolate energy lingered around his body, and a violent roar resounded. Clang! The divine bell descended, and a huge bell that was shining brilliantly stood between heaven and earth, quickly isolating Su-yi from the black tortoise little divine beast. In an instant the world fell silent. Woo-woo, the black tortoise little divine beast's body was transparent, and its eyes were filled with reverence and wariness as it constantly let out roars. The mysterious bell that spanned the ages was dazzling, and it was like a primordial giant beast crawling its magnificent body, blocking the black tortoise little divine beast. The black tortoise little divine beasts that had gathered in front of the bell couldn't attack for a long time, and they began to whisper to each other, shaking their heads and growling. After a while, the group of beasts let out a series of growls that sounded like the cries of babies. The ear-piercing growls made Su-yi frown. Hiding in here is not a solution. We have to get out. Su-yi's face was pale as he looked at the increasing number of divine beasts outside, and he was extremely anxious. If Wu Yashio had already left the black tortoise statue, wouldn't that mean that the clues to the Nightmare Sea were completely lost? At the thought of this, Su-yi decided not to wait any longer. His gaze fell on the exterior of the bell that was surrounded by talismans, and he muttered to himself. These black tortoise little divine beasts are probably the remnant energy left behind by the black tortoise before it perished, and they are guarding this place. Since the mysterious bell could isolate them, why not use the bell to shatter these black tortoise little divine beasts? Suddenly, Su-yi raised his eyebrows, and a ray of light flashed across his crafty eyes. Then, he activated the Origin Supreme Technique. Origin Supreme Technique, rise. Boom! As Su-yi's voice trailed off, at this moment, there was a violent thunderous explosion around Su-yi's body. Between heaven and earth, nebulae circled, and the light of the day flowed, and the whole world began to darken again. More and more dark clouds gathered and filled the entire red sky, and the majestic heavenly might descended. As silent as the night, all the black tortoise little divine beasts no longer growled or growled. Their eyes, which were cast from the ripples of space, were suddenly filled with horror and horror. An incomparably terrifying power poured down from the sky, and a flash of lightning suddenly condensed above Su-yi's head. In a short moment, the lightning converged into an even more profound and terrifying image of the black tortoise. That's the real black tortoise. Su-yi looked at the huge lightning image in the sky and suddenly raised his eyebrows. He had clearly wanted to use the huge bell to crush the little divine beast. How did he attract the real divine beast over? In an instant, Chi Feihong and Su Wan'er, who had been summoned from within the mysterious bell, looked as if they were in a daze. The black tortoise had returned to the human world. What did that mean? Instantly, the three of them, including all the little black tortoises, looked up and stared at each other in shock. It was clear that if the bell was struck by the black tortoise, everyone present would be killed. In an instant, Su-yi took a step forward, and the power of the mysterious bell and the Origin Ancestor 5th stage all over his body were fully activated. An extremely terrifying aura swept across heaven and earth. Lightning flashed in the sky, and a mysterious white aurora flashed continuously with the lightning. Suddenly, an earth-shattering voice gathered. "Bring him to that place." The incomparably old voice sounded weak, as if the clouds had finally parted after waiting for so many years. The black tortoise looked at the three people within the bell and shouted loudly. As soon as it finished speaking, the strange phenomenon in the sky suddenly disappeared, and heaven and earth instantly returned to darkness. Suddenly, a strange wave of energy rippled in the surroundings, causing one's hair to stand on end. Big Brother Sui, the bell moved! The bell moved! Su-won covered her mouth and cried out in surprise. Her face still maintained the shocked expression from before. Sui looked down, and a vast aura surged out from his body. It was filled with an ancient aura. This is... Sui and Chi Feihong were shocked at the same time. More than 20 black tortoise divine beasts carried the bell on their backs and ran across the grassland at an unstoppable speed. Chapter 2191. At this time, Sui could no longer control the direction of the bell. The scenery around him turned into streams of light as they flew past him. Standing inside the bell, Sui felt as if he had passed through countless galaxies. If someone were on the grassland, they would be incomparably shocked. Above the mysterious bell, divine light lingered. After being enveloped by the ancient aura of the black tortoise, the bell stirred up a terrifying storm of destruction on the grassland. Boom! Under the impact of the bell, large tracts of space were directly shattered into pieces. The surrounding space collapsed inch by inch, and even the demonic red clouds and rolling thunderclouds were torn into nothingness. In less than 3 breaths of time, Sui and Su-won rode the bell to a plateau. On this plateau, a massive black tortoise statue was erected. In front of the black tortoise statue, Wu Yashio, who was anxiously holding onto the dark sea fragment, saw the scene behind him, and his eyes widened in shock. Behind him, the thunderclouds scattered, revealing countless stars. In the dark night, a massive flash of light shot out. This shocking scene caused Wu Yashio's mouth to drop open. Boom! Under Wu Yashio's gaze, the black tortoise bell finally reached the plateau. The moment it touched the plateau, the auras of the 20-some black tortoises instantly dissipated, turning into motes of light that fell onto the bell. In an instant, a small image of a black tortoise appeared on the top of the bell. This image was profound and complex, and it was vivid and lifelike, as if the black tortoise was alive. Clang! Before he could take a closer look, a soft voice came from the bell. It said to Sui, "High Lord, I have waited for 10,000 years. Fortunately, I have not failed you." The strange and respectful voice instantly vanished from the bell. Sui could feel a force suddenly vanish from his side, spreading far and wide until it broke through the horizon. In an instant, Suyi's heart thumped with a sense of loss and sorrow. Inside the bell, Chi Feihong and Su-won did not hear this ancient call at all. Their eyes were calm and cold. "High Lord? Why did the black tortoise call me High Lord?" Suyi's heart raced as he recalled what had just happened. Because the mysterious bell had been summoned, the black tortoise's attacks had also stopped. Could it be that this mysterious bell was not only related to the heaven-suppressing stone, but also related to the divine beast? At this moment, the hairs on Suyi's back stood on end for no reason, each strand of hair standing on end. None of this was a coincidence. Becoming the envoy of the dragon god? Sign an agreement with the golden dragon? Going back further, he had become brothers with the phoenix true god, little handsome Su? Obtain the Emperor Sparrow's blood essence? The more he thought about it, the more Sui didn't dare to think about it anymore. He put away the mysterious bell, and Su-won and Chi Feihong once again entered his mind. "I have to ask the old golden dragon about the Archean great calamity." Su-yi's eyes trembled and gradually emitted a biting cold light. Suddenly, when Sui looked up, Wu Ma-xiu's face was already ashen. He stared at Sui as if he had seen a ghost. "Sui, why are you here?" Wu Ma-xiu's soul trembled inexplicably as he swallowed a mouthful of saliva. He could not believe what he had just seen. Su-yi quickly regained his senses. His eyes fell on the fragment of the dark sea in Wu Ma Xiu's hand. He said to Wu Ma Xiu, "The fragment in your hand can take you to the Nightmare Sea, right?" Hearing this, Wu Ma Xiu immediately hid the fragment in his clothes and said with a cold look, "What do you want? I didn't expect you to be able to chase me all the way to this place." Su-yi's eyes suddenly turned cold, and a terrifying aura rushed out along with rolling heavenly might. He said to Wu Ma Xiu, "Give it to me. I will leave your corpse intact." At that moment, Su-yi had fully activated the Origin's Supreme technique. Wu Ma Xiu's heart raced when he sensed the terrifying aura. However, when he saw that Su-yi's cultivation was only at the 5th level of the Origin Ancestor stage, Wu Ma Xiu's eyes flickered. "Damn it! Do you really think I'm afraid of you?" Wu Ma Xiu's eyes were extremely fierce. After all, he was at the 8th level of the Origin Ancestor stage. If he were to compete with Su-yi, he would definitely win. "You arrogant thing, die!" Wu Ma Xiu lowered his body and shook his long sleeve. Then, black mist crawled on both of his fists again. As he raised his hands, a strong stench shattered the void and blasted towards Su-yi. Needless to say, Su-yi knew that there must be countless insects in the black mist. Without any hesitation, Su-yi decided to end the battle quickly and enter the Nightmare Sea quickly to stop the Wu Ma family's plan. Rumble! In an instant, Su-yi's demonic blood-killing god sword resounded in the sky and the bright blood traces dissipated in midair. Soon, the demonic blood-killing god sword began to shake and almost broke free from Su-yi's hands. "Ping-er, what are you doing?" Su-yi shouted anxiously. He did not expect that the demonic blood-killing god's sword would cause a conflict at such a critical moment. "You're so smelly again. Master, Ping-er hates you." Ping-er pouted and sat in the demonic blood-killing god's sword. Her chubby little face was filled with anger. Su-yi shook his head and smiled bitterly. He did not expect that this little girl was still angry about what had happened earlier. "Ping-er, do me a favor and I'll give you something delicious to eat." Su-yi had no choice. It was too late to change to the Starry Sky Soul at the last minute. His heart was filled with shock as he dodged a wisp of rotten black mist. "You said it. Ping-er will help you one last time." Ping-er pretended as if nothing had happened and said softly. Su-yi clenched his teeth. This little girl liked rare treasures, especially weapons. If he went all out, he would have to bleed a lot. But there was no other way. Su-yi could only brace himself and agree. The moment Su-yi agreed, a loud energy sword cry cut through the sky. The sound was so loud that it made people's eardrums tremble. Desolate starry sky. Open. Su-yi did not hesitate. Ending the battle quickly was the way to go. Suddenly, Su-yi's figure disappeared from the sky. When Su-yi appeared again, he had already merged with the demonic blood-killing god sword. Wu Ma Xiu, who was surrounded by black mist, could only see a terrifying blood-patterned greatsword standing in the sky. Su-yi's figure could be clearly seen inside the sword. When the light in Su-yi's eyes flashed, an extremely tyrannical sword wave swept out violently. In an instant, the surrounding space was turned into a pitch-black void, and the space around him collapsed. Even when the sword wave reached him, Wu Ma Xiu's eyes were still filled with shock. He did not expect that Su-yi would have such a terrifying increase in strength. At that moment, he felt as if a scarlet sword beam had landed on his head. The sword wave swept through the world, tearing apart Wu Ma Xiu's yuan-sec space. Countless black bugs were turned into fragments by this overwhelming strength. Yuan Domain Realm. How is this possible? The entire space trembled. Red light flashed as Su-yi's saber fell. The saber beam carried with it a boundless killing intent, cleaving Wu Ma Xiu in half. Chapter 2192. Wherever the sword passed, the space rippled and a terrifying crack appeared. It was sharp and domineering. Bang! Wu Ma Xiu, who had swallowed the elixir from the Long family, was cut in half on the high ground. The sword wave disappeared, and the aura was too strange and destructive. It was as if it had never appeared under this quiet sky. Putting away the blood demon killing god sword, Su Yi did not expect that using the despairing heavenly stars and killing sword would have such terrifying power. Holding the blood demon killing god sword in his hand, Su Yi's lips curled into a cold smile. After killing Wu Ma Xiu, Su Yi was pleasantly surprised to find that, after opening the despairing heavenly stars for 2 breaths, the elemental qi in the great void divine sea had only decreased by 1/10. That terrifying sword was still in Su Yi's mind. The despairing heavenly stars was so terrifying. Whoosh! Su Yi's heart was suddenly filled with boundless enthusiasm. His mind was looking at the Xianling fire crystal in the divine sea, and the light was only slightly dimmed. Immediately, Su Yi was certain that with the Xianling fire crystal's huge energy, he could open the despairing heavenly stars for at least 20 breaths. The Nightmare Sea, he could try it. The Wu Ma family. Thinking of Wu Ma Di, Su Yi's eyes suddenly turned cold. His improved strength gave Su Yi endless confidence. Master, you must remember to give Ping Er good food. After saying that, Ping Er, who had just merged with Su Yi's sword will, seemed to be a little tired. Her voice in the sword body became softer and softer. Su Yi touched the blood demon killing god sword lovingly. He could not help but feel warm in his heart. He said softly, "Sleep well. Leave the rest to me." Approaching the black tortoise statue, the light on the beast's eyes was absorbed into Su Yi's soul. In his mind, the ancient scene of heroes fighting for supremacy and wild beasts dancing together appeared again. Picking up the despairing heavenly stars on the ground, Su Yi's sharp eyes fell on the 2 halves of Wu Ma Xiu. His eyes suddenly turned cold. On his palm, the coastal fragments left by Wu Ma Xiu shone brightly, but the runes were even more confusing. Looking at the patterns on the fragment, although it pointed to the spirit sacrifice abyss, there were no other hint. He was already inside the black tortoise statue, but he didn't feel anything strange. Suddenly, Su Yi regretted killing Wu Ma Xiu so quickly. Just like the 9 families of the Yun family, the Wu family must have entered the Dark Sea countless times during the 10,000 years of the ancient sect. Their understanding of the fragment was incomparable. Perhaps it was because the Wu family had researched the method to travel through the Nightmare Sea that the Long family chose to cooperate with them. Now, after killing Wu Ma Xiu, who was about to rush to the Nightmare Sea, Su Yi's smile faded as he looked at the fragment in front of him. "Brother Yi, try injecting Wan Er's soul energy into it." Su Wan Er's voice sounded in his mind. Su Yi nodded and quickly circulated the art of controlling the heavens. He communicated Su Wan Er's soul pressure with the Dark Sea fragment in front of him. Chi La. The light around the fragment of the Dark Sea shot out again. Like the stars in the sky, the ancient aura surrounded Su Yi again. This is... A vast amount of destructive power quietly engulfed Su Yi's body like a hurricane. Suddenly, Su Yi felt his limbs and bones being wrapped by a gentle but heavy energy. This was an extremely familiar feeling. It was exactly the same as the aura of the black tortoise, but more complicated. Whoosh! Secretly circulating the Origin Supreme technique, Su Yi also released the violent aura from the mysterious bell. The ancient and barbaric aura blended together and gradually formed a terrifying spatial airflow around him. Walala! Closing his eyes, the golden bell once again enveloped Su Yi's body. His figure was like a small boat, quietly disappearing into the violent airflow. Where he disappeared, the abyss space filled with dark light swallowed the entire desolate land. Under the moonlight, in the desolate spirit sacrifice abyss, the vast land seemed to be quietly protecting the 12 ferocious divine beast statues on the altar. The desolate feeling of the end of the world filled Yu Ning and Yun Hanshen's hearts. Under the nourishment of Su Yi's spiritual liquid, the two of them quickly recovered from their injuries. When one's cultivation reached the origin ancestor realm, it was already very difficult for anything in the world to harm them. Their unique cultivation techniques and powerful flesh and blood allowed their bones and meridians to be hundreds of times stronger than ordinary cultivators. Therefore, once they were injured, there were very few medicines that could be of use to them. In the desolate and ruthless space, a violent energy of heaven and earth soared into the sky from the center of the altar. It was released in the direction of Yu Ning. Yu Ning, who was surrounded by a ball of light, was surrounded by surging airflow. The light vortex was bone-chilling, but it carried an incomparably sacred majesty. Yun Hanshen, who had already recovered, was standing at the side. He was shocked as he looked at Yu Ning, who was slowly getting up, in disbelief. In such a desperate situation, Yu Ning had actually broken through to the 8th level of the origin ancestor realm. You actually broke through. Yun Hanshen's eyes surged as surprise flashed across them. Yu Ning-er's cold voice was indifferent and emotionless. She stood up and said to Yun Hanshen, "Didn't you also benefit greatly? Not only have you recovered, but your aura has also become denser." After saying that, Yu Ning-er used the bright moon to size up her sparkling, jade-like skin. She was extremely satisfied. Facing the moonlight, Yu Ning-er's gaze fell on the divine beast statues from time to time. Su Yi had already gone in for 2 hours, but there was still no news. Shortly after, Yu Ning-er placed the bottle of spiritual liquid into her bosom as a faint trace of worry flashed across her eyes. "You care a lot about Su Yi." Yun Hanshen saw Yu Ning-er's actions and asked softly. As if the little secret in her heart had been discovered, Yu Ning-er's cheeks flushed red. She then said seriously, "What are you trying to say?" "He's Jing-er's and you're her sister." Yun Hanshen's gaze flickered as he said, "I can't deny that he's outstanding among the young people I've seen. No, he's the most outstanding. But that won't do." Yu Ning-er's gaze was cold as her long eyelashes sparkled. She said coldly, "I don't need you to remind me. Once we're out of this desperate situation, I'll control myself well." Whoosh! As soon as she finished speaking, with the altar as the center, a strong light vortex rose rapidly. The surrounding space rippled along with it, and the fluctuations were enough to make all living things palpitate. "What's going on?" Yu Ning-er and Yun Hanshen turned pale with fright. When they wanted to react, they were already caught off guard. In the mysterious light, a green figure stood in the void like a supreme god roaring in the 9 heavens. He sat at the edge of the world without a change in expression. Within the vortex, a domineering voice sounded, following which, a gentle hand pierced through the vortex with an extremely domineering power. "Pull me along. Let's go to the Sea of Nightmares." Chapter 2193. It's Su Yi. Yu Ning-er was pleasantly surprised. She looked at Yun Hanshen and the two of them no longer resisted the terrifying energy of the vortex. Her 4 eyes slightly raised as Yu Ning-er nodded towards Su Yi in the vortex. She withdrew her yuan qi and her figure floated towards the vortex like a falling leaf. Tightly holding Su Yi's hand, Yu Ning-er charged into the vortex with Yun Hanshen following behind. After entering the vortex, seeing the mystical light that filled the sky, Yu Ning-er and Yun Hanshen's eyes trembled at the same time. "This place is..." Yun Hanshen's calm eyes finally revealed an expression of disbelief. In the vast vortex, lines that were like stars appeared in the large bell. Raising their heads, the two of them felt as if they were in a mysterious world. An invisible tyrannical energy separated them from the spatial vortex. In this space, Yu Ning-er and Yun Hanshen's aura surged like a river. Wind and thunder could be heard above their heads, and from time to time, the sound of the sacrificial bell could be heard. For some reason, Yuning, and Yun Hanshan gradually calmed down as if their minds had been purified. Hong. A faint but tyrannical voice came from Su Yi's direction. Su Yi looked at Yuning and Yun Hanshan and said, "Guard your spirit, don't resist this energy. The spatial vortex will bring us to the nightmare sea." As soon as his voice fell, a tyrannical and dazzling light filled the entire divine bell. The divine light outside the bell was resplendent, and the spirit's sacrifice abyss in the night was filled with vitality. Roar! The vast might of the heavens swept out, and the spirit's sacrifice abyss was as bright as day. The mountains and rivers seemed to have reversed, and everything seemed to have returned to the desolate era 10,000 years ago. In an instant, the 12 beast statues on the walls of the abyss released surging light and roared towards the 9 heavens. Hong long long. The heaven and earth exploded as the cries of the ancient beasts resounded through the clouds. 5-colored light pierced through 10,000 zhang and covered the sky as it appeared in the depths of the sky. Following the explosion of the light, the images of the 12 divine beasts appeared in the sky. At this moment, the entire world was filled with a terrifying power, as if it was pouring down from the heavens. One after another, huge divine beasts circled in the sky. Their terrifying energy seemed to be able to reverse the flow of the rivers and reverse the sun and moon. Gigi. The phoenix divine beast opened its illusory eyes. Its divine eyes glistened as it looked down at the entire world. It flapped its wings that were wreathed in flames, causing the temperature of the entire desolate world to rise rapidly. It was scorching hot and terrifying. Visible to the naked eye, all the grassland, air, living beings, flowers, and spirit beasts in the desperate situation disappeared in an instant. Immediately after, the golden dragon hung in the sky, the qilin roared, and the white tiger raised its head. Ferocious and terrifying roars rose and fell one after another, as if they were guarding their supreme monarchs. The surging energy of heaven and earth was like turbulent waves, firmly occupying the entire heaven and earth. What a powerful aura! Yun Hanshan was flabbergasted, as if he had been petrified. Led by Su Yi, several people stood inside the mysterious bell. They could see the 12 mythological beasts flickering with light with their naked eyes, and the pressure they exuded was tightly surrounding their auras. Suddenly, everyone's hearts and souls trembled. This was a fear and shock that spontaneously arose from the bottom of their hearts. The gods shook the heavens, and the universe shook. Immediately after, the vermilion bird shone brightly, the Kuan Pung roamed freely, the golden crow breathed fire, the ice luan froze, the soaring serpent hissed, the heavenly fox became demonic, the white tiger roared, the great kuei shook the river, and the black tortoise growled. The dazzling light was as vast and mighty as the sound of the heavens, shaking the ancient times. The loud and sonorous roars and chants continued, directly attacking Su Yi's heaven-origin demon soul. Su Yi's eyes moved, and his heart was already filled with an indescribable feeling of shock. In this life, the heaven barbarian cultivators were already used to working hard to reach the peak of martial art. The existence of the divine beasts had long been forgotten by people in the long river of time. Everyone knew that they existed before, and they were the source of the supreme martial arts. However, when the 12 supreme divine beasts appeared before his eyes again, Su Yi still felt incredulous. Boom! Boom! The Emperor Sparrow's blood essence suddenly boiled in his body, mixing with the golden dragon's blood essence. As he watched the divine beasts roar and thunder rumble, Su Yi's aura seemed to have reached its peak. Su Yi. Feeling the sudden change in Su Yi's body, Yuning Yun Hanshan and Su Wan Er's hearts surged with waves. Back off! Don't obstruct him! Among the people present, only Qi Feihong knew Su Yi's true trump card. The origins of the mysterious bell and the mysterious ball of light had probably exceeded the imagination of the heaven barbarian cultivators. Su Yi had already encountered a turbulent situation, and this was the time for him to become a dragon. At that moment, under Qi Fei Hong's reprimand, the three of them quickly retreated to the edge of the mysterious bell. Looking at Su Yi, whose aura was surging like an ancient god, Qi Fei Hong's lips trembled slightly, and a solemn expression appeared in his eyes. As a legendary figure of the demon-subduing sect, he had a natural respect and worship for divine beasts, and even gods. Su Yi, perhaps you will be able to uncover the mystery of your origins, Qi Fei Hong said softly. Su Yi's primordial chaos supreme art had reached the peak of its power, and the savage barbarian's might was terrifying. The 12 divine beasts transformed into 12 bright and mysterious golden lights that landed around the mysterious bell. Golden lightning flashed and circled continuously. The divine beast spread its wings, and the image of a phoenix spread back and forth, surging with majestic radiance as it spied on Su Yi's aura. He has the aura of my phoenix in his body, and this young man has my avatar in his body. He also has my aura in his body. Looks like he has also met my avatar in the world. The golden dragon was dazzling as if it could burn everything. The golden dragon carefully spied on the changes in Su Yi's aura. Suddenly, Su Yi could feel a few surging waves of power, and Su Yi could feel the desolate energy rushing through his body. However, he didn't say anything. These divine beasts were actually spying on him. At that moment, fierce divine light rippled through the clouds, and the black tortoise's energy once again appeared beside Su Yi's ears. It said softly, "Everyone, I believe that he is the Demon King. He has been hibernating in the heaven barbarian world with his remnant soul for 10,000 years. Some of the 12 of us no longer exist. Now only the undying phoenix, the golden dragon, and the Ice Luan's remnant souls are left in the world. The golden dragon and phoenix's remnant souls are in the outside world, and only the Ice Luan is left to guard the Nightmare Sea. Let's take a gamble." Inside the bell, Su Yi's divine sense had long been closed, and he could only hear the divine voice in the spatial whirlpool. Demon King? Golden Dragon's remnant soul? Phoenix's remnant soul? Ice Luan's remnant soul? Hearing the black tortoise's voice, Su Yi suddenly felt goosebumps all over his body. The phoenix's voice was overbearing and powerful. It whispered to Su Yi inside the bell, "Let's take a gamble. He has my Nirvana true body in his body. I believe this is fate. Wake up, Phoenix Clan." Chapter 2194. I believe so too. My remnant soul will definitely be waiting for him in the Chaos region, the Golden Dragon said in a low voice before disappearing into the storm. Suddenly, a huge pressure filled the air, and a vast aura spread out in all directions like a storm. A loud explosion could be heard. The 12 statues of the divine beasts were all destroyed, and the entire altar turned into a ferocious wave of demonic aura, leaving everyone dumbfounded. Rumble! Under the roar of the beasts, the entire mountainous area was covered in cracks, and the mountain peak collapsed under the reversal of the sun and moon. We are descending. The abyss has appeared. Yuning Er's heart trembled, and her eyes were filled with surprise. As the space whirlpool sped up, the spirit sacrifice abyss collapsed at the last moment. The ground sank, and everyone within the bell rapidly descended. So, this was the origin of the spirit sacrifice abyss. After a few breaths of time, the golden light that filled the sky surged around Su Yi's body. Under the protection of the bell, everyone gradually closed their eyes in the incomparably dense energy. Lord Demon King, this old servant can only help you to this point. Our energy can only allow you to search for the past in the center of the Nightmare Sea. On the day of your rebirth, we will wait for you on the wall of 10,000 demons in the Demon Palace. With his eyes closed, Su Yi's mind was hazy, and he could only drowsily listen to this sentence. The Nightmare Sea, Lu Ti had once said. The Nightmare Sea was a sea that evoked one's inner desires. Legend had it that there were as many energy fragments as sparkling waves. However, at the same time, it was also a sea that could destroy one's martial arts dreams and cause one to lose their life. When Sui opened his eyes, everything around him had returned to its original tranquility. Looking at the sky, it was as if he could not differentiate between the sky and the ground. Sui, who was in the center of the Nightmare Sea, stepped on the mirror-like surface of the sea, and his surroundings were filled with ancient monstrous energy. Sui, you are already at the 7th level of the Origin Ancestor Realm? Yuning and Yun Hanshin flashed out from behind him, and Qi Feihong and Su Wan were naturally kept in the mysterious space. Just by looking at the situation in the Nightmare Sea, Sui realized that not only was his aura dense, the great void divine sea's qi of vitality was almost overflowing. A huge aura gathered around Sui. Sui's body seemed to have an inexhaustible amount of energy. He nodded immediately. Didn't they say that we would have illusions in the Sea of Nightmares? Yun Hanshin looked around suspiciously, but he didn't seem to be the least bit abnormal. Yuning also frowned. She looked at Sui in confusion, full of doubt. Sui shook his head helplessly. He was afraid that even he couldn't explain it. If he really understood, Sui could only think of it as the black tortoise and other divine beasts protecting him. Some of the 12 mythological beasts had already perished in the world, leaving behind only a trace of their souls that sent him, Yuning and the others into the Nightmare Sea. Recalling what the black tortoise had said, the 12 divine beasts were waiting for the rebirth of the legendary Demon Emperor. Then, am I that Demon Emperor? But why don't I have any memories of it? The black tortoise had said that the Icelwan was in the Nightmare Sea. Sui looked at the sparkling mirror sea and fell into deep thought. If he could find the Icelwan, he would be able to solve this mystery and completely understand his origins. Boom! In the distance, a series of terrifying explosions interrupted Sui's thoughts. Immediately, the three of them opened their eyes and looked towards the northwest. Yun Hanshin was the first to be moved. It's Master! Master! Yun Hanshin was extremely excited. A ray of light flew out from under his feet. Immediately, Sui and Yuning immediately caught up with the ray of light under their feet. On the boundless Nightmare Sea, countless energy fragments refracted a dazzling radiance. A few figures were faintly discernible in the hazy sky. It was so hazy that no one could see them clearly. It wasn't until he rushed up that Sui could clearly see how far Yun Zhongli's figure was from him. A dazzling light shot out from Sui's eyes as he quickly stepped out with the 100 transformation step. After 4 hours, the three of them finally arrived at Su Yun Zhongli's location. Master! Following Yun Hanshin's shout, the mysterious white figure quickly rushed to Yun Zhongli's side like a bolt of lightning. At this moment, Yun Zhongli's eyes were locked. His breathing was weak as he sat on the Nightmare Sea. His body was covered in blood. Hanshin, why are you here? Why did you come from the center of the sea? Yun Zhongli's eyes were locked. When he saw Yun Hanshin, he was happy at first, but it quickly turned into shock. Patriarch Yun, the matters outside have been settled. Leave the rest to us. Sui's eyes were indifferent. He stood side by side with Yuning and stared at Wu Ma Di and the others who were similarly ugly. Sui! Yun Zhongli looked back at Sui with excitement. Thinking of Yun Hanshin and Sui together, Yun Zhongli immediately understood everything. He smiled bitterly and nodded. Sui! You are Sui! Wu Madi's pitch-black body trembled slightly when he heard the conversation between Yun Zhongli and the others. Wu Madi's expression was unnatural. His pupils shrank slightly as he looked at Sui and asked coldly, "Where is my Xiu'er?" Suddenly, Sui's eyes turned cold as he flashed to Yun Zhongli's side. Facing Wu Madi and the dozen or so origin domain experts behind him, he said in a deep voice, "You're talking about your ugly son?" He has already been split in half. Wumadi's eyes shone with a piercingly cold light as soon as his cold words fell. He then said ferociously, "You actually dared to kill my son! Sui! You and I are irreconcilable enemies!" Suddenly, Wumadi's body was surrounded by an even thicker black fog. A strange pitch-black saber appeared in front of him and emitted a terrifying light. "You will die a horrible death for killing my young master. Bastard! Die! Arrogant brat, I will tear you into pieces!" The group of experts behind Wu Ma Di roared crazily. Wu Ma Xiu's death meant that their plan to kidnap Su Wan had failed completely. Su Yi's arrival shocked Wu Ma Di and the Wu Ma family members. Wu Ma Di shouted at Su Yi viciously, "Attack! Wu Ma family members, kill these people for me!" Boom! Suddenly, the Wu Ma family members released a terrifying aura that spread across the sky. It was enough to draw out the entire space. The Long family members are indeed here. Su Yi's eyes were piercingly cold. He was not affected by Wu Madi's hatred at all. He looked around and his gaze fell on a cold-looking expert from the Wu Ma family. He did not react to the Wu Ma family's anger at all. Instead, he shrank back a little. Wu Ma Di and the Wu Ma family members were stunned when they heard this. Immediately, the experts' bodies glinted coldly as they charged at Su Yi. Chapter 2195. "Kid, you know too much. We can't let him live. Kill him." The Long family's expert unleashed the aura of a golden dragon and charged toward Su Yi with the Wu Ma family. "Disperse!" Su Yi shouted. Su Yi lifted his gaze. His strength at the 7th level of the Origin Ancestor realm made Su Yi's aura even more terrifying. Just looking at him was enough to make one's hair stand on end. "How dare you be so arrogant when you are at the 7th level of the Origin Ancestor realm?" Ma Di and the experts of the Long family rushed forward, turning into a group of fierce phantoms in the air. "Be careful!" Yun Zhongli shouted angrily. Even without Yun Zhongli's reminder, Su Yi knew that Wu Ma Di and the Long family's experts' cultivation were the highest. Wu Ma Di's cultivation was at the 8th level of the Origin Domain realm, while the Long family's expert was only at the 7th level of the Origin Domain realm. However, with their powerful Golden Dragon bloodline, their lethality was probably higher than Wu Ma Di's. Bang! Bang! Soon Yun Hanchen, Yuning and Yun Zhongli, who was staggering, started to fight with the Wu Ma family's expert. Qi La. Rays of origin Qi light collided with each other and the energy exploded, instantly stirring up monstrous energy. The Wu Ma family's experts kept shooting out heavy black fog, and a huge stench permeated the air. Yun Hanchen and Yuning were shocked. The Wu Ma family had kept a low profile for so many years. This time, all the Wu Ma family's experts had come out in full force. They had not expected the Wu Ma family's experts to be so powerful. Their tacit cooperation and the terrifying insect array attack instantly distorted the space in front of them as though it was going to explode at any time. "Master, how can the Wu Ma family be so powerful?" Yun Hanchen's eyes were solemn, and he was already prepared to die. At the side, Yuning waved the jade flute in her hand, and a powerful sound wave spread out. Her Origin Ancestor realm aura was like a tide that dispersed the insect array in front of her. She instantly flashed to Yun Zhongli's side. "Family leader, what should we do?" Yuning eyes were solemn as she looked at the terrifying aura around her. Her heart was palpitating. Yun Zhongli took a deep breath and unleashed the power of a half-step Yuan Tian realm cultivator. No matter how powerful Yun Zhongli's aura was, the strength of his attack was only at the 9th level of the Origin Domain stage. When Yun Hanchen sensed the abnormality, he said softly, "How is this possible? Master, has your power been suppressed?" Hearing that, Yuning also looked at Yun Zhongli. She instantly felt uneasy. "We are not being suppressed because of Su Yi. The Wu-Ma family is not being suppressed because of the Long family. Yu Ning-er's mind was quickly filled with all kinds of miraculous scenes of Su-yi. The Sea of Nightmare. It was rumored that as long as one got close to it, there would be a 90% chance of death. And now, under Su-yi's lead, Yu Ning-er and Yun Hanchen directly traveled through space to the center of the Nightmare Sea. If someone said that it had nothing to do with Su-yi, Yu Ning-er would never believe it. Su-yi. Yun Zhongli's eyes trembled as he launched another heavy attack at the Wu-ma insect formation that was charging at him. The powerful light was suffused with strange ripples that spread out and covered the entire sky. Today, even if we have to risk our lives, we have to make Su-yi enter the Sea of Nightmare. We will cover for him. Yun Zhongli shouted. Immediately after, with Yun Zhongli as the center, the three people's Yuan Qi energy suddenly exploded. The brilliance spread across the sky and rushed toward the Wu-ma family like a river. Bam! Bam! On the other side, Su-yi had also activated the Origin Supreme technique. The divine bird shadow behind him appeared in the world. Flames flew as the divine bird shadow spread its wings. The monstrous flames turned into flames that could burn the world and purify thousands of living beings in the world. The vast expanse of space in front of him turned into nothingness. Amidst the mystical flames, Su-yi panted heavily. Su-yi, who was like a supreme god, stared at Wu-ma-di and the experts from the Long family below him. Su-yi was secretly anxious. Looking at the vast nightmare sea, Su-yi had activated the despairing heavenly star. Endless energy was flowing in his body. Su-yi could feel that the great void divine ocean was being consumed at a terrifying speed. If I don't think of a way, I might be in trouble. Su-yi's eyes were solemn. He was barely holding on with the help of the despairing heavenly star, Wu-ma-di, and the experts from the Long family. However, once the despairing heavenly star was closed, his cultivation level would plummet. An even more terrifying situation would occur. His primordial qi would also be depleted. He could not sit still and wait for death. Su-yi looked in the direction of Yun Zhongli. The three of them were also overwhelmed. Let's use the mysterious bell again, Su-yi muttered. Suddenly, Yun Zhongli, Yu Ning-er, and the rest seemed to have sensed something. They looked up in shock and stared blankly at the sky. What is that lad doing? Yun Zhongli held his breath and took a deep breath. At that moment, everyone could feel that there was an ancient yet powerful force in the sky. Rumble! Yu Ning-er and Yun Hanchen looked at each other. They knew what Su-yi was trying to do. Their palms were wet and sweaty. Lad, no matter what tricks you use, you won't be able to escape death today. I will let the entire Yun family sleep with you. Wu-ma-di squinted his eyes and looked at Su-yi, who was still in the sky. He thought that Su-yi was scared out of his wits and laughed arrogantly. Back off! When the powerhouses of the Long family looked at the divine light in the sky, they seemed to feel a mysterious bloodline suppression. They were frightened and shouted angrily at Wu-ma-di. On the Sea of Nightmares, dozens of people were looking at Yun Zhongli. Yun Zhongli's eyes were bloodshot. Su-yi, what kind of surprise can you bring me? Yun Zhongli asked softly. Whoosh! At that moment, only Su-yi knew how powerful the energy in his soul was. After being cleansed by the 12 divine beasts, Su-yi found it very difficult to summon the mysterious bell this time. In the blink of an eye, a faint roar came out of Su-yi's throat. In an instant, the temperature around Su-yi started to rise. The beautiful red light shrouded Su-yi and the divine light surged. Su-yi was like a man on fire roaring in the sky. The energy in his palms soared and tore the space ripples around him. This lad, is he trying to burn himself? Wu-ma-di was stunned and then laughed wildly. Seeing Su-yi's strange movements in the air, Yu Ning-er felt as if she had never felt such a terrifying aura before. In an instant, Yu Ning-er broke free from the battle and rushed towards Su-yi. Su-yi! Yu Ning-er's gaze fell. She naturally believed in Su Yi's strength. However, from the time they entered the Sea of Nightmares, Su Yi had done too many miracles. Even if it was just a little bit, Yu Ning was afraid that Su Yi's body wouldn't be able to withstand it. Chapter 2196. Boom! For some reason, the sky above Su Yi suddenly trembled. Su Yi, who was curled up in the air, suddenly burst out a powerful energy. The space was torn apart silently, and the unstoppable high-temperature flames surrounded Su Yi like the long tongue of a fire dragon. The flames were like rolling waves, shining with divine light. At this moment, Su Yi's body was covered with flames, and the hazy phantom behind him fluctuated dreamily and turned into a huge phantom of a mythical bird again. The mythical bird soared into the sky, and even the thousands of rays of light in the sky couldn't hide its brilliance. The flames burned the sky, like a supreme flame that purified the world, brazen and overbearing. Is that the true Phoenix God? Yun Zhongli looked at the roaring mythical bird in the sky, and his eyes were wild. For a moment Yu Ning, Yun Hanshin, and the Wu family all had an impulse to crawl. Crackle! In the flames, the phantom of the phoenix burst out with a shocking cry, which resounded through the sky and shook the sky. The vast aura collapsed in the vast sky. Guji! In the chaotic space, everyone was shocked and dumbfounded. They stared at the flaming mythical bird in the sky, and they were completely speechless. Ah! In the flames, Su Yi bent down first, and then suddenly puffed out his chest. His body was like an exploding fireball, and his muscles and bones burst out with a terrifying sound of destruction. Roar! Suddenly, the phantom lingered, and a terrifying childish voice faintly burst out from Su Yi's body. The voice was low and overbearing, and at the same time, it implied supreme majesty, which shocked everyone and lasted for a long time. Damn it, who dares to bully my boss? Get out here! The flame ripples suddenly spread in the sky like a tsunami, and turned into circles of light arcs that swept across the world. The vague phantom of the phoenix and Su Yi's cyan-robed figure overlapped with each other, and a chubby little figure wriggled out of the flames with vigorous steps. Bang bang bang! Little Fatty's aura was vast and surging. With every step he took, the halo around him crazily exploded, and the shocking explosion fell on the Nightmare Sea. In an instant, the sparkling fragments of the Nightmare Sea were blown up, and high waves of fire soared into the sky, and the black hole in the sky suddenly exploded into a pitch-black color. Looking at the figure that was strolling over, countless eyes were filled with bone-chilling coldness. In the sky, such a terrifying aura made people feel as if they were in a wild, ancient world, and the absolute power that was enough to suppress and destroy everything, and made the legs of the people present couldn't help but tremble. Finally, the flame dimmed a little, and Fatty's face was revealed. It was handsome Su, who had been sleeping in the mysterious space for a long time. Su Suyu and Su Yi, who was exhausted, looked in front of little Fatty in front of him, and his eyes, secretly in his eyes. Su Yi lightly coughed. Because of little Fatty's appearance, the spiritual qi in Su Yi's spiritual sea was depleted, and he was now extremely weak. Looking at little Fatty who had finally woken up, Su Yi's heart was filled with emotions, and the thousands of words in his throat finally turned into one sentence. Brat. You killed me during the tribulation, and now you're doing it again after waking up. Do you want to die? The wild and unruly handsome Su chuckled and looked at Su Yi apologetically. Boss, you're my boss after all. I know you've secretly come to see me many times, but I was refining my spiritual qi and couldn't wake up. If it wasn't for the great changes in your baby, I wouldn't have been able to wake up. As soon as he finished speaking, a ball of fierce flame appeared in Su Xiaoshuai's hand. The scorching heat caused everyone present to be shocked. He said in a low voice, I'm just a step away from reaching the heavenly demon realm. Don't blame me for throwing away such a good opportunity to help you. Putting away the flame, little Fatty licked his chubby face and moved closer to Sue, his pure eyes filled with sincerity. Okay, I forgive you. There's still some trash down there. Clean it up. I'm going to take a rest. Sue exclaimed in his heart. Judging from little Fatty's aura, little Fatty had already reached the 8th stage of the heavenly demon stage. Moreover, little Fatty had the phoenix true form, so there was no need to worry about the danger here. Hearing this, little Fatty nodded and looked at the people below. At this moment, Yu-Ning was looking at little Fatty and little Fatty in confusion. A little Fatty came out of Su Yi's body, and his aura was so terrifying. Anyone would be stunned. Yu-Ning and little Fatty looked at each other, and the latter's bright eyes flashed with a trace of craftiness. Boss, this is your sister-in-law, right? Sister-in-law, catch him. I'll take care of this. As soon as he finished speaking, Sue was thrown in front of Yu-Ning by little Fatty. Sue, who was weak and out of control, cursed this little guy thousands of times in his heart. What do you mean by your sister-in-law? This little brat has no filter. If you don't know, don't call me that. In the blink of an eye, Sue and Yu-Ning bumped into each other. He smiled at Yu-Ning embarrassedly and sat on the ground to start healing. In an instant, Yun Zhongli and Yun Hanshin rushed to Su Yi's side to protect him. Looking at the rapidly changing situation, Wuma Di and the powerhouses of the Long family suddenly looked serious. They saw little Fatty Su's figure rushing to them like a ghost. Little Fatty Su, who was only half the height of an ordinary person, looked at the two powerhouses at the same time. His aura was vaguely stronger, and there was a murderous aura in the silence. Are you the only ones who have been bothering my boss? Little Fatty Su frowned, and his young face was full of arrogance. The powerhouses behind the Wuma family looked at little Fatty Su's chubby appearance and smiled. Even with the monstrous scene just now, the Wuma family did not expect little Fatty Su to be very strong. Therefore, they said fiercely, "Little Fatty, don't get in the way." Roar. As soon as they finished their words, a strange fluctuation appeared around little Fatty Su. His round lips curled up slightly, and like a ferocious tiger coming out of the mountains, a flame spurted out and instantly spread into a boundless sea of fire. The sea of fire swept out like the god of death, trapping all the disciples of the Wuma family in a fire net. Swish, swish. In just a short moment, without any struggle, all the disciples of the Wuma family were turned into ashes. The murderous aura of their melting bones and flesh made the void tremble. Seeing that the situation was not right, Wuma Di and the powerhouses of the Long family were shocked. They shouted, "Oh no, this guy might really be a phoenix. Let's attack him together." Suddenly, little Fatty Su was enraged. The illusory phoenix behind him that was as big as a courtyard shook. F***CKU. I'm a phoenix. Do you think I've given you enough face? Do you want to catch me? Little Fatty Su shouted. The phoenix soared into the sky, and its flames covered the entire sky, confronting Wuma Di's divine insect realm and the illusory golden dragon of the Wuma family. Chapter 2197. Boom. It was as fast as lightning and as powerful as thunder. Under the shocked gazes of the two, three huge phantoms directly collided with each other in the void. Immediately after, a deep sonic boom erupted from the depths of the firmament. After a stalemate of more than 10 rounds, the power of the true Phoenix God could not be underestimated. Moreover, Handsome Su was a real LV8 monster domain realm. The powerhouse from the Long family and Wuma Di spat out mouthfuls of blood and were sent flying to the ground. Under the shadow of the true Phoenix God, Handsome Su's body grew larger for no reason. He held a blazing flame in his hand, and his aura was unparalleled. He looked down at the two powerhouses and said, "Your cultivation is not bad. But you can die now. Looking around, handsome Su's eyes were unusually cold, completely different from the naive look he had when he was talking to Su-Yi just now. In a short moment, handsome Su raised his saber and slashed it down. Two shocking flames shot out from his palms, and the sound was like thunder. At that moment, the golden flames spread an extremely dangerous aura throughout the entire Nightmare Sea. The crimson flames suddenly surged back and forth between Wumadi and the powerhouse from the Long family. The crimson-red light flowed, and the crimson-golden thunder was released like fireworks. The sound of cracking could be heard incessantly. Wumadi and the powerhouse from the Long family struggled crazily, but how could human martial artists resist the flames of the true Phoenix god? Not long after, two miserable cries were heard. Under the fire python, Wumadi and the powerhouse from the Long family fell to the ground. The flames and explosions swept across the sky like a storm, and the terrifying aura was about to destroy everything. Looking at the two powerhouses who had turned into black ashes, handsome Su let out a long sigh, sneered, and shook off the black ashes on his shoulders. So weak. Then, handsome Su raised his eyes. The Nightmare Sea in front of him was full of mystery. The ancient aura kept surging, and handsome Su's chubby face trembled slightly. Many images flashed through his mind like a comic book, but when he thought about it carefully, he could not remember them. I still can't remember anything. Every time after Nirvana, this is the most annoying thing. My memories are all lost. Handsome Su smiled dejectedly. In fact, there was another important reason why handsome Su woke up at this time. When the 12 divine beasts sent Su-Yi and the others into the Nightmare Sea, the remnant soul of the Phoenix had entered the bell and communicated with him. That was why handsome Su woke up so quickly. Now, he was standing in the middle of the Nightmare Sea. Above his head were divine clouds and below his feet was a brilliant mirror. Little handsome Su felt as if he had entered a frozen world and couldn't remember anything. He shook his head and walked to Yu-Ning-Er's side, sizing everyone up. "What the hell is going on? Tell me everything you know," handsome Su said in a serious tone. After learning about the grudge between Su-Yi and the Long family, as well as the fact that the Yun family was the cause of the Long family's trouble, handsome Su gritted his teeth. "Damn it, when the boss wakes up, we'll go and destroy that Long family." Streams of violent chi flowed out of handsome Su's body, accompanied by a nameless and peerless chi, causing the three of them to tremble in fear. Once handsome Su was born, the experts of the Wu family and the Long family couldn't even withstand a single blow. Instantly, Yun Zhongli and Yun Hanchen looked at each other. Yu-Ning-Er was so embarrassed that she couldn't say anything. "Are you really the Phoenix?" Yu-Ning-Er asked softly. Handsome Su raised his eyebrows and said faintly with his round belly, "Why, don't I look like one?" Yu-Ning-Er laughed and shook her head. "It's just different from what I imagined. If it weren't for the fact that I forced myself to come out of seclusion to save our boss and even gave up the transformation tribulation, I would be a handsome young man now." Handsome Su rolled his eyes and looked at Yu-Ning-Er's snow-white face. He said softly, "By the way, which number of my boss's wives are you?" Yu-Ning-Er quickly waved her hand and blushed. She said softly, I'm not, I'm just his friend. Lord Phoenix, please don't talk nonsense." Little handsome Su waved his hand and resumed his mischievous look. He smiled and said, "Look at you, I know. My boss is such an excellent man. It's normal for him to have a few female confidants since he can be brothers with my Phoenix. How about this, you can call me Little Handsome like my boss." Yu-Ning-Er smiled and nodded her head. "Do you two have anything else? If not, you can leave now." Handsome Su sensed that Yun Hanchen was a little angry, so he said without changing his expression. Yun Hanchen looked at Yun Zhongli and Yun Zhongli smiled bitterly. Handsome Su was so arrogant, but he was a divine beast. What could Yun Zhongli do? Yun Zhongli smiled bitterly and looked at Su-Yi. He said softly, "Let's wait for Su-Yi to wake up." I have something to tell him. Handsome Su nodded his head, as if he didn't understand. After a short while, the great void divine sea in Su Yi's body was almost fully recovered as he channeled the Origin Supreme technique with all his might. Coupled with the terrifying aura of the wilderness, the great void divine sea in his body had almost recovered. He opened his eyes and saw several pairs of eyes looking at him. Handsome Su was even more excited. He shouted, "Boss, you've recovered." Su-yi stretched his neck and felt that his primordial chi was full again. He stood up and said with a smile, "Yes, I've been tricked by you." Handsome Su smiled and looked at Yun Zhongli. He said, "This old man has something to say to you. Su-yi, go to the bottom of the nightmare ocean immediately. Someone is waiting for you there." Yun Zhongli frowned. He had entered the nightmare ocean with Su Jingyuan, but they were ambushed by the Wuma family. Yun Zhongli stayed behind to fight with the Wuma family in order to cover Su Jingyuan's retreat. "Is it Yun Jing?" Su-yi exclaimed. Yun Zhongli shook his head and looked very serious. He said softly, "The bottom of the nightmare ocean is the real scary place. You must be careful when you go in." "Who is waiting for me?" Su-yi was a little confused. Looking at Su-yi's eyebrows, Yun Zhongli could not help but sigh. He said in a low voice, "I even hid this from Wugo. Since you're here, it's God's will. Even if I tell him, he won't blame me. In fact, the person in the bottom of the nightmare ocean is your father, Su Jingyuan." Hearing this, Su-yi's mind was spinning. The handsome face in his memory immediately appeared in his mind. His father, Su Jingyuan, who was famous in the barbarian city but had never shown his face in his memory. Su-yi had lost his mind in the haze. He heard Yun Zhongli's voice. "Back then, your parents, Su Jingyuan and Wenfu, were hunted by the Long family. I brought them back to the Long family. The ancient sects that were robbed by the Long family were greatly affected. In order to protect them, I and my wife, who was pregnant with Wan secretly brought them into the nightmare ocean under the pretext of looking for a cure for Jing. It was at that time that I finally found the nightmare ocean with the help of your parents." Chapter 2198. The nightmare sea was extremely dangerous, but we managed to get by without any mishaps. Who knew that at the last moment, your mother would suddenly save Jing who was born with terminated meridians, and leave the wood suppression heavenly stone to her. After that, she expelled the three of us and asked Jing Yuan not to look for her whereabouts. After saying this, Yun Zhongli's gaze became light. Endless memories were like a knife cutting his heart. "Why did my mother do that?" Su-yi asked in a hoarse voice. Yun Zhongli shook his head and continued with a sorrowful look on his face. "We don't understand. After that, we didn't see your mother again. Without your mother, Jing Yuan went crazy and searched everywhere for your mother's whereabouts." Su-yi didn't know what to say. It turned out that his parents had left Man City because of the Long family. "It's the Long family again." Su-yi's eyes were blazing with flames as his battle intent surged. Yun Zhongli looked at Su-yi and said softly, "The Yun family and the Long family were originally on par with each other in terms of strength, but an elderly powerhouse appeared out of nowhere and suppressed the Yun family and Jing Yuan completely. I suggested that your parents enter the nightmare sea to lie low for a while." Suddenly, Su-yi thought of the foreign elder who had stolen Lu Ruashi's mother's heart and was on par with Duanmu Qintian. His gaze instantly turned cold. "Everything is seamless." Su-yi sucked in a breath of cold air and said softly. Su-yi and Yun Zhongli, who were incomparably sad, looked at each other. Not only was Wenfu's whereabouts unknown, Jing Er's whereabouts were also unknown. As a husband and as a son, their hearts were suddenly connected. "Didn't you find anything when you entered the nightmare sea again after so many years?" Su-yi frowned. Yun Zhongli nodded and said softly, Even Yuan domain realm powerhouses can't stay in the Nightmare Sea for too long. Every time we arrived at the place where we were separated, we would see a blurry image of a woman in green taking your mother away. Woman in green. The green-robed woman. Qi Feihong shouted excitedly. Su-yi, I saw two women in the illusionary demonic mirage. It must be the green-robed woman who took your mother away. Qi Feihong recalled the scene of that year, and goosebumps rose all over his body. Qi Feihong's old eyes trembled. He never would have thought that the woman he saw back then was actually Su-yi's mother. Jing Er's whereabouts are unknown. I think there are only two possibilities. She was kidnapped by the Long family, or she was taken away by that woman like your mother. Yun Zhongli gradually clenched his teeth, and a trace of loneliness flashed across his face. Then, Yun Zhongli bowed deeply to Su-yi and said softly, Su-yi, thank you for taking care of Wan. The Yun family will never forget your kindness. Jing Er and you are fated to be together. Our families are old friends. Now that your father is down there, please look for Jing Er's whereabouts as well. Su-yi was filled with fear and trepidation, his gaze fluctuating. Speaking of which, Yun Zhongli was also his parents' savior, so he returned the greeting. Yun Hanchen and Yu Ning Er's eyes widened. Are we not going to the Nightmare Sea? Master, I want to go to the Nightmare Sea to find out Jing Er's whereabouts. Yun Hanchen said hurriedly. Master, I want to go too. I am Sister Jing Er. Yu Ning Er looked at Su-yi and said without hesitation. Nonsense. Do you think the Nightmare Sea is a place where you can go as you please? Su-yi has nothing to worry about with the Phoenix True God around. You will only cause more trouble if you go. Now that the crisis has been resolved, let's go out and clean up the mess. Yun Zhongli fixed his eyes on Su-yi. At this time, Yun Zhongli had completely let go of his prejudice against Su-yi. Since Su-yi had gone so far for Yunjing, Yun Zhongli believed that Yunjing would be safe and sound. Go out. I will find Jing Er and my parents. Su-yi looked up and his slightly moist eyes shone brightly. A gentle voice rang in his mind. It was Su Waner. She said softly, Brother Su-yi, I will go with you. Since father said that he had been to the Nightmare Sea before I was born, I am not afraid. Hearing this, Su-yi nodded and looked around at everyone. His aura was like a hurricane. He shouted, Master Yun, Jing Er will come back. Let's go. Little Handsome. As soon as he finished speaking, the man and the child's aura was extremely powerful. Along the path they took, a long crack was formed. When they returned to the center of the Nightmare Sea, Su-yi's eyes were trembling. His father was down there, and he had endured for 20 years for his mother. Suddenly, a surge of heat rose in Su-yi's mind. He was unable to suppress his excitement and was at a loss of what to do. According to Yun Zhongli, they had found the most crystal-clear fragment in the center of the Nightmare Sea. That was the entrance to the Nightmare Sea. Hit the fragment hard and one could enter the Nightmare Sea. Oh, this is too troublesome. Hearing Su-yi say that the Nightmare Sea was guarded by the Ice Luan, little handsome Su rolled his eyes and said softly, The Ice Luan likes to come and go mysteriously. Boss, get out of the way. I'll burn these shiny crystals. Looking at the vast and sparkling sea in front of him, little handsome Su's body flew up quickly. He puffed out his chest, and his small chest quickly became like a balloon. Whoosh! Holding his nose, his small eyes instantly opened wide and turned red. Blazing flame energy suddenly burst out. From his small mouth, a huge pillar of fire dragon light broke through the air and pierced through space. As soon as the violent flame spurted out, the monstrous aura accompanied by the violent rage twisted the entire space. The aura was incomparably destructive as it blasted directly at the fragment in the center. Chi. With a series of explosions, the sparkling fragments of the Nightmare Sea melted. Then, a murderous and sharp light spewed out from a pitch-black space crack. Huff, huff, huff. A ferocious icy aura surged up from the ground. Like a cold pond in hell, a devilish azure light emerged from the crack. Done! Little handsome Sue clapped his hands and looked at Sue-E helplessly. If anyone knew that little handsome Sue burned the Nightmare Sea fragment that others regarded as a treasure like glass, they would vomit blood in anger. However, looking at the abyss-like Nightmare Sea bottom, Sue-Ye's heart beat wildly again. He said in a low voice, "Dad, I'm coming." When everyone jumped into the Nightmare Sea with Sue-E, no one noticed that the 9 orifices to Yang Leaf was swaying wildly in the spiritual field in the mysterious space. The ancient and mysterious Nightmare Sea bottom was not as dark and deep as Sue-E had imagined. In the vast secret realm under the sea, it was like an invisible devouring black hole that continuously swallowed all the vitality in the space. In front of him, there was only endless dark water. Chapter 2199. Sue-E could feel the terrifying energy of heaven and earth hidden everywhere in the fine bubbles. When Sue-E started to use the Origin Supreme technique, the strange energy around him seemed to consciously make way for him. "Boss, let's go. There's something up ahead," Handsome Sue reminded. First, a flame rose around Handsome Sue's body, illuminating the dark and desolate space with colorful lights and shadows. Under the illumination of Handsome Sue's light, Sue-Ye's body moved even faster, and he quickly arrived at the depths of the Nightmare Sea. The dense energy fluctuations around him became more frequent, and the fine bubbles grew bigger and bigger. It was as if everything in the Nightmare Sea was afraid of him. Not long after, Sue-E saw a lot of old and decaying light orbs floating around. Inside the light balls there was no lack of scriptures, medicine, spirit herbs, equipment, armor, and other rare treasures. These treasures had been passed down for tens of thousands of years, and many of them were even at the beginning of heaven grade. However, Sue-Ye's worry for his father occupied all of his thoughts, and he was not interested in looking at them. Sue-E estimated that he had been moving for a long time, and his heart was full of doubts. Why didn't he feel the aura of human warriors? "Let's go there." Handsome Sue pointed in a direction and said softly to the hazy light in front of him. Sue-E nodded. Primal Chi rose under his feet, and after pushing away the terrifying bubbles, a green light in front of Sue-E rushed to where Handsome Sue was. "That's the 9 orifices returned to Sunleaf." Sue-E suddenly remembered that Chi Feihong had once plucked a return to Sunleaf and told him to always pay attention to the movement of the Bodhi-Goo. Now that the return to Sunleaf had flown out, what did it mean? If the return to Sunleaf moved here, it meant that there must be a moon-devouring Bodhi-Goo ahead. With unparalleled excitement, Sue-E moved as fast as lightning, following the green light in the sea. His body was like a sword, and soon, he found the light. Suddenly, a wave of energy appeared in front of him, and the strange energy was like a giant suction cup that pulled Sue-E and Handsome Sue in. Ha 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 ha! The charming and bewitching laughter of a woman rushed into Sue-Ye's mind. Suddenly, the storm-like seawater around him evaporated. It was as if he was in a huge, dark cave. A terrifying aura spread out in this lifeless world. "Did you hear anything?" Sue-E sized up the dark environment around him. The azure blue light permeated the heaven and earth, like a black hole that swallowed everything. Little Handsome Sue's face turned serious. He said softly, "I heard it. It wasn't the Ice One's voice. Why is there such a strong demonic aura in this place?" Crash! As soon as he finished speaking, the densely packed heaven and earth energy in the cave surged towards Sue-E like tiny energy snakes. "Why aren't you coming in? Come quickly! Aren't you looking for Yunjing? Aren't you looking for Winnie? They're all here." Strange and enchanting sound waves came from the depths of the cave. The barren space was filled with strange sound waves. "Who is it?" Su Yi's eyes lit up. His heart surged, and he wondered whose voice it was. Instantly, Su Yi and handsome Su rushed towards the light. They saw a huge cylinder standing in front of them. This is. Su Yi and handsome Su stared at the huge cylinder in front of them. Suddenly, they felt an endless stream of strange energy rushing into their minds. Immediately, Su Yi secretly activated the Origin Supreme technique. After some twists and turns, he finally dispelled the surging strange soul energy. Whoosh! A green light flashed in front of him and stuck to the huge crystal cylinder. Soon, a strange scene appeared. The small 9 orifices returned to sun leaf seemed to have grown on the crystal cylinder. Vast energy that was visible to the naked eye swept out, causing ripples in one's heart. Then, the huge leaf grew wildly. The huge leaf soared into the sky like a terrifying beast. The thick stem danced wildly in the air, as if it was protecting the crystal cylinder. Su Yi's gaze fell on the strange crystal cylinder. When his body moved slightly closer, he could feel a surge of ferocious energy rushing towards him. In the misty halo, if not for the Origin Supreme technique protecting him, Su Yi would have been led away by this strange energy. Whoosh! What a strong soul interference! Su Yi was slightly shocked as he looked at the towering pillar in front of him. This is the moon-devouring Bodhi vermin. It grew so big in the Nightmare Sea. Qi Feihong's voice trembled as he looked at the pillar in front of him in disbelief. Hearing this, Su Yi's eyes began to tremble. He squinted his eyes and looked at the crystal cylinder. The powerful soul pressure on it was about to erupt like a volcano. This guy. I've been carrying it with me all this time. Now that they've found their companions, they're starting to protect their master. Su Yi frowned. Su Yi's eyes moved. There was no other way to go deeper into this place. The path in front of him was a path that he had to pass through. He then began to think of a solution. On top of the Bodhi goo, there were layers upon layers of energy crystals, constantly emitting soul pressure, causing one's heart to beat faster at a glance. Come on. Come quickly. Didn't you want to find your Jing-er? Your mother is also inside. The Bodhi goo once again let out a charming voice, attracting Su Yi to come closer. Su Yi, who was reciting the art of controlling the heavens, was no longer affected. Su Yi immediately understood. As it turned out, all the dark sea fragments in the desperate situation came from this moon-devour Bodhi goo. Coupled with the unique environment of the Nightmare Sea, the fragments of the Nightmare Sea had such a terrifying soul deterrence. Since you want me to go in, I'll go in. Su Yi's lips curled up as he looked at the moon-devour Bodhi goo. Although he was not far from the energy pillar, Su Yi knew that there were definitely many layers of energy seals between the two. Only by stepping in could he find out where the Bodhi goo was. Activating the mysterious bell's energy, Su Yi's eyes shined brightly as he charged into the Bodhi goo formation with little handsome Su with an unparalleled might. Stepping into the formation, Su Yi's surroundings were filled with countless illusions. Beauties, a sea of fire, a mountain of blades, sword waves, thunder, lightning flashes, and bone lands. Countless illusions appeared before Su Yi's eyes. Thankfully, Su Yi's mind was clear. Even if the Bodhi goo's soul influence was strange, Su Yi was not afraid. Su Yi pondered for a moment before calling out the mysterious bell. The aura around him was instantly isolated. Enveloped in a desolate aura, Su Yi was walking on flat ground. In less than 15 minutes, Su Yi arrived at the center of the Bodhi goo. Su Yi's eyes trembled. At this moment, the aura around him had already reached an unparalleled level. Looking at the tiny seed in the crystal pillar, Su Yi knew that it was the main body of the Bodhi goo. Chapter 2200. Take him down. Su Yi's eyes shone brightly as the imposing aura on his body instantly became vast like a mountain. F*ck off. A ferocious female voice shot out from the Bodhi goo and instantly sounded like the shrill howl of a ghost, causing Su-yi to frown. His heart and soul hurt as a wave of dizziness came from Su-yi's mind. At the instant he withdrew his arm, Su-yi was able to sense a black figure flashing out from behind the Bodhi goo within the illusory space. Bang! Instantly, a ferocious origin energy light exploded towards Su-yi from the side as an extremely evil aura charged over. Su-yi twisted his body and swiftly executed the cloud shadow frost step to dodge the attack before looking towards the horizon. Above the Bodhi goo, a ferocious and indescribable black aura appeared, and it was sufficient to completely confuse one's mind. In the blink of an eye, the black figure charged before Su-yi, and the place it passed by seemed to be enveloped by darkness, including the void. When his soul perception spread out, Su-yi was able to sense that the cultivation of the black figure before him was around the 6th level of the origin domain stage. However, the powerful black aura around it was extremely strange, and Su-yi had to be on guard. Rumble! Within the black figure, the humanoid figure that was like a ferocious beast erupted with violent killing energy as it roared incessantly. "It's you, you're the one who killed her. I'll kill you." As soon as it finished speaking, the black evil energy suffused the sky as the black figure before Su-yi covered the sky like an evil spirit from hell. "You don't want to live anymore. How dare you bully my boss?" Su-yi strode across the sky and took a step forward as he looked at the black figure with ridicule, and blazing energy burned all over his body. "Wait, I'll do it myself," Su-yi shouted in a deep voice. As soon as he finished speaking, peerlessly overbearing gushed out from Su-yi's deep eyes as 2 dragon roars resounded behind him. Soon after, the ferocious golden dragon shadow roared as it appeared. Its mighty and overbearing aura immediately dispersed the black shadow. The moment the light surged, the entire narrow space became incomparably bright. When Su-yi saw the person's face clearly, his face suddenly stiffened. "Crazy uncle?" Su-yi's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. He never thought that the black shadow attack just now was actually Feng Bo, whom Wang Shangwu had saved in front of the house. Feng Bo's cultivation level was actually at the origin domain realm. Was he just pretending to be crazy before this? Could he be his father, Su Jingyuan? Startled, Su-yi's eyes widened as Feng Bo's figure suddenly approached. Both of Feng Bo's hands danced in the air, and a dark and sinister aura appeared. A terrifying pressure filled the air. "Ha ha ha, come on, I'll let you father and son fight. Let's see if the son or the father is more powerful." A sinister and sharp female voice once again shot out from the Bodhi goo's crystal light. The eerie wind storm caused Su-yi to shudder. "It's you who snatched my fu air. I'll kill you." Feng Bo, or rather, Su Jingyuan, opened his pitch-black eyes and charged towards Su-yi with a biting cold battle intent. Su Xiaoshui was anxious as he saw this. A blazing flame burst out of nowhere as he roared, "Boss, I'll help you!" Swish! Su-yi's figure soared through the air as he looked at Su Jingyuan, who was like a mad demon. He had already guessed that Su Jingyuan's resentment had turned into hatred and was being used by this moon-devour Bodhi goo. Immediately, under Su Xiaoshui's gaze, Su-yi's figure flashed and dodged his father's attack. 20 years of waiting and hatred. "Father, wake up!" Su-yi blurted out. He had finally found his father in this life, but he didn't expect to reunite with him in such a situation. Suddenly, Su-yi shouted. The tyrannical chi of primeval origin supreme technique didn't dare to directly clash with Su Jingyuan and could only move around Su Jingyuan's body. Damn it! Su-yi's figure spread out like an illusion, but Su Jingyuan really treated him as an enemy. He pushed his hands forward crazily, and a huge energy whirlpool expanded at lightning speed. When he couldn't avoid it, Su-yi gritted his teeth and activated Sorrow Star Destroyer again. "If you don't act decisively, you will be in trouble." Father, bear with it for a while. In an instant, Su Yi's gaze flickered. He turned around and passed through a few black whirlpools. His feet stepped lightly in the air as his figure approached Su Jingyuan like lightning. Boom! His strength instantly soared. From Su Yi's body, a few powerful vital qi rays shone brightly, and the mighty attack immediately locked onto Su Jingyuan. At this moment, Su Yi's heaven-origin demon soul already felt an intense tearing sensation. The Bodhi Gu's screeching sound was surging in his mind. Little handsome, burn the Bodhi Gu for me. Su Yi stretched out his hands and clamped Su Jingyuan tightly as he shouted behind him. Boom! Little handsome Su, who couldn't wait any longer, nodded heavily. He rushed to the front of the energy light pillar, and a devilish female face appeared. The heart-wrenching cries shook the entire cave. Seeing that little handsome Su was not afraid of her soul suppression, the Bodhi Gu's light pillar shook even more violently. Don't come near me. Who are you? Get lost. The air was filled with an extremely dangerous aura. The 9 orifices returned to Sunleaf turned into 2 huge hands and covered the Bodhi Gu's face. But soon, the scorching heat melted the leaves instantly. Traitor, to think that we raised you for so long! Little handsome Su roared angrily. He pulled away the 9 orifices returned to Sunleaf and said to the face on the Bodhi Gu, Let me tell you, I am the Phoenix True God, little handsome Su. Remember this. Bam bam! Instantly, destructive flames burst out of little handsome Su's body and melted the crystal pillar like a tsunami. Swoosh! Large pieces of crystal fell from the light pillar like melting ice. Finally, a fist-sized fruit was revealed. It glowed with a devilish purple light, and runes were swirling around it, adding a sense of mystery to it. Little handsome Su's lips curled up. His chubby little hand reached in, and the fruit suddenly flew out of the light pillar. A purple figure in a long robe landed on the ground. She stared at Su Yi in grief and said coldly, Despicable human! Today I've lost. Su Yi hurriedly dispelled the bewitching spell on Su Jingyuan. He said to little handsome Su, Bring her to the mysterious space. The mysterious space opened up in an instant as a vast amount of ancient energy seeped out. Heavenly might rolled out. Su Wan-er and Qi Feihong walked out of the mysterious bell and looked at the Bodhi Gu lying on the ground. It's the same as the old blood jade spirit ginseng. It's also a herbal demon beast, but its cultivation level is more than 1 level higher. Qi Feihong's eyes flickered. Su Yi glanced at the Bodhi Gu. Although Su Jingyuan was restrained in his arms, he was still shouting like a crazy demon. Release my father's illusion. I'll spare your life. The Bodhi Gu's eyes trembled. Hearing this, a trace of joy flashed in its charming eyes. It walked to Su Jingyuan's side and hesitated for a while. Little handsome Su behind it burst out with a terrifying sound of flames again. His body trembled, and a mouthful of black fog rushed into Su Jingyuan's forehead. Chapter 2201. Ah! Su Jingyuan fainted completely. Su Yi's expression changed as he glared at the Bodhi Gu. What did you do to my father? A vast divine aura shot out from his eyes, and the Bodhi Gu took a step back instinctively. It did not expect a level 5 origin Grandmaster human to have such a terrifying aura. Looking back at this magnificent space, the Bodhi Gu's beautiful eyes flickered. The divine aura continued to descend, and the Bodhi Gu lost its earlier aura. Don't worry, your father will wake up soon. The Bodhi Gu's voice was timid and its gaze was evasive. Su Yi placed Su Jingyuan on the edge of the spirit pool and turned around to look at the Bodhi Gu. His eyes shone with a brilliant light. Suddenly, the sky changed color, and a loud and clear bell chime resounded. Above the dome, a bolt of lightning covered with divine runes coiled like a python, releasing the divine aura. Bam! The lightning bolt, which was as thick as a tree, struck from above. The Bodhi-Gu's face turned pale, and it fell to the ground, trembling. Spare me, spare me. I didn't know you were so powerful. Looking at the huge pit in front of it and the pungent smell of burnt flesh, the Bodhi-Gu curled up and said in a low voice. He came 4 or 5 times over the years, and each time he came, he said the same thing. My resentment accumulated. We, the Bodhi-Gu clan, have always been able to arouse the desires of humans. We only did it to protect ourselves. Please spare my life, Lord. Chi Feihong, Su Wanner, and handsome Su frowned. Everyone knew about Su Yi's background. His parents had left Man City because of the Long family's pursuit, and Su Yi had been bullied. Unexpectedly, Su Yi's father had also lost his true love and was hiding in the Yun family, living a lowly and hopeless life. Su Jingyuan had waited so long so that he could find his mother's whereabouts every time the despairs in Dark Sea opened. Instantly, Su Yi's heart was filled with complex emotions. His gaze slowly fell on the unconscious Su Jingyuan, and a sense of helplessness and conflict welled up in his heart. How long will it take for him to wake up? Su Yi's eyes were filled with disappointment as he asked. The Bodhi-Gu pursed its lips and told Su Yi that Su Jingyuan had accumulated resentment in his heart all these years. This time, he still couldn't find Wen Fu's whereabouts. His mind was greatly affected, and his soul was heavily injured. But it doesn't matter, I'll quickly undo my soul technique. As for whether he wakes up or not, it's up to him. The Bodhi-Gu said softly. Su Yi frowned slightly when he heard this. Soon after, he held Su Jingyuan's hand. She recalled the day when Su Jingyuan was still the mad uncle. The two of them had looked into each other's eyes and felt a sense of intimacy. Blood was a love that could never be erased. What's your name? Su Yi turned around. The Bodhi-Gu's attitude was still acceptable. Bodhi-Gu nodded, saying softly, Lord, you can call me Bodhi Immortal. Su Yi sized up the Bodhi Immortal, who had already reached the demon domain realm. She had shocking cultivation and terrifying soul technique. He said coldly, Submit to me or die. Boss, what do you want this woman for? Only by killing her can we vent our anger. She dared to tease us. Little handsome Su looked fiercely at this evil Bodhi Immortal with disdain. Su Yi didn't listen to little handsome Su's opinion. He walked past everyone and looked down at Bodhi Immortal, saying coldly, Are you willing to submit? If not, you'll die. The mysterious bell shone brightly, and under the ancient aura, primordial divine power quietly flowed out. A ferocious power that could destroy the world instantly covered the entire mysterious world. When Su Yi said the last word, Bodhi Immortal's gaze wavered. She nodded like she was pecking rice, saying respectfully, I'm willing to submit. I'm willing to follow Lord for life. Su Yi smiled faintly. He formed a hand seal and formed a heavenly demon soul contract with Bodhi Immortal. The void trembled as vast mystic lightning revolved in the sky. Next, Bodhi Immortal, who was shrouded in black chi, changed her appearance. Under the mystic white light, she was actually a beautiful young woman. She was poles apart from the charming and enchanting appearance just now. This was actually an instinctive ability of herb-type savage demon beast. Looking at the changed appearance of Bodhi Immortal, Su Yi's lips curled up into a smile. Looks like this kid knows how to use Bodhi Immortal. Chi Feihong saw this and smiled, his eyes squinting as he stroked his beard. Is this the depths of Nightmare Sea? Su Yi looked around. Outside the mysterious space, he could see the lifeless Nightmare Sea. Bodhi Immortal gently shook her head. Her gentle voice spread throughout the mysterious space. Her voice reverberated in the air, and was very pleasant to the ears. Master, I am in the depths of Nightmare Sea. But I can feel that there are signs of other living beings in Nightmare Sea. Looking at everyone, Bodhi Immortal, who had already become one of them, paused and told everyone that her main body was Moon Devour Bodhi-Gu. Every once in a while, it would undergo a transformation. The chip that fell off from the main body would be transported to the surface of Nightmare Sea by a huge force. Is it so strange? Sui frowned. He naturally knew that this was done intentionally by the Ice Luan. Bodhi Immortal, wake my father up first. There are other strange things in Nightmare Sea. Little Commander, Wan Air, come out with me. Su Yi's gaze was fixed on Su Jingyuan's body as he left the mysterious space. He returned to the cave where the Bodhi Gu was. This was already the end of Nightmare Sea. The surroundings were spacious, dark and desolate. Just by slightly sensing, one could feel a soul-shaking tremor in their soul. Bam! Su Yi activated the primordial supreme technique again. A terrifying heavenly might filled the air. After a moment of deadlock, a faint aura quietly dissipated. Ice Luan, boss, let me deal with her. Little Commander Su frowned. An incomparably vigorous sound wave erupted from his small body as he shouted. Ice Luan, you little lass, how long are you going to hide? Come out and meet my boss. Come out and meet my boss. The destructive sound waves were transmitted back and forth in the black hole-like nightmare seabed. Finally, they drilled into the darkness and disappeared without a trace. Damn it, you dare to not even meet me? Little Commander Su pouted. An undetectable awkwardness flashed past the corners of his eyes. Instantly, flames of anger burned in his small eyes. Su Yi's lips curled. His gaze fell on this extremely quiet Nightmare Sea as he nodded. Is the Ice Luan not here? Impossible, then whose voice did he hear in soul trial belong to? Divine Beast Black Tortoise said that Nightmare Sea was guarded by the Ice Luan. There was no reason for a divine beast to lie, right? Immediately, Su Yi was somewhat vexed as he walked back and forth in the cave. Brother Su Yi, let me try. Su Wan said softly. Shortly after, under Su Yi's nod, Su Wan sorrowfully activated her primordial chi attribute. Chapter 2202. The energy of the Origin Ancestor realm permeated the air. The gentle halo collapsed layer by layer in the space and soon disappeared into the distorted cracks in the void. I don't believe it. Even I can't summon the Ice Luan. How can Wan do it? Su Xiaoshui put his hands on his hips and rolled his eyes. Before he could finish his sentence, a dried-up icy energy flashed in front of him from the void. Instantly, Su Yi and Su Xiaoshui's eyes trembled. Su Wan-er's body floated up into the air like a blue ice fairy. Her delicate body flashed with an icy blue divine light. In the depths of the Nightmare Sea, an azure radiance shone brilliantly, as if a mystical eye had suddenly opened. In the void, vast ancient energy surged out and connected with the entire world. The blue divine light permeated the void like a miracle. The bottom of the sea seemed to have traveled through time and space. A desolate cold aura filled the air, causing Su Yi and Su Xiaoshui's hearts to skip a beat. This was a slap in the face, the kind that resounded loudly. A trace of embarrassment flashed across little handsome Su's chubby face. He muttered a few words in a low voice. How embarrassing! How could Wan have anything to do with the Ice Phoenix? Su Yi, who was standing at the side, looked at the biting cold halo in the air. It was as if he had traveled through time and space. Although the aura was strong, it still revealed a sense of desolation and destruction. Instantly, Su Yi had a bad feeling. The energy in the void before them was like a dying old man trying to open his eyes just to see his beloved granddaughter. Walala! Under Su Yi and Su Xiaoshui's gaze, Su Wan-er's body was swallowed by the blue light from head to toe. In the desolate nightmare ocean, the energy of heaven and earth gradually weakened. It was like an old man past his prime. He suddenly recalled that Su Wan had pieced together the fragments of the nightmare ocean and found the spiritual sacrifice abyss at the same time as the smell-confusing beast. Go in. The Ice Luan true god doesn't seem to be able to hold on for much longer. Sui raised his eyes and shouted softly. Perhaps the true god Ice Luan wasn't just summoning him. She was also waiting for Suwaner? As soon as he finished speaking, there was a deep sonic boom in the air. Two powerful auras suddenly exploded. Su Yi and Su Xiaoshui entered the blue light one after the other. Buzz. The quiet Ice Luan divine ruin looked like a world of ice and snow. Dazzling frost energy radiated in all directions. Looking up at the sky, there was a distorted sense of beauty everywhere. In the distant void, ripples of energy spread out in a circular arc in the sky. The clear sky was like a mirror, and countless figures of Su Yi and Su Xiaoshui were reflected in the void. This strange feeling of being so close and yet so far away made Su Yi feel absent-minded. Boom! Just as Su Yi was absent-minded, Su Waner, who was floating in the Ice Luan divine ruin, finally landed on the ground. From the depths of the sky, there was a rumbling sound wave that caused the entire void to tremble. Looking at a mirror image in the sky, Su Yi was instantly shocked by the image inside. Qingtian, only the Ice Luan true god can heal your injuries quickly. In the mirror image, Duanmu Xiaoman's gentle and pleasant voice came from the depths of the void. Suddenly, Su Yi stared at the sky as if he had been electrocuted. He saw Duanmu Xiaoman and Duanmu Qingtian at the top of Burial Frost. Amidst the wind and snow, Duanmu Xiaoman was bringing Duanmu Qingtian to meet the Ice Luan true god. This is... Su Yi's gaze suddenly trembled. Many words were stuck in his throat, and he couldn't say them. At this moment, Duanmu Xiaoman and Duanmu Qingtian's image was synchronized. Duanmu Xiaoman was thinking of a way to heal Duanmu Qingtian's injuries. In the next second, the crystal-clear sky changed again. The scene reflected caused Su Yi and Su Shuai's eyes to tremble again. Time cut back to 20 years ago again. Patriarch Yun, today I saved Jing and gave this personal item to her. After I leave, please don't ever look for me again, Jing Yuan. In the mirror image, several people were standing in front of the Bodhi-gu. A beautiful woman with eyebrows like the stars and the moon and a complexion like a pearl was handing over the final task to Yun Zhongli. Mother! Su Yi saw clearly that this beautiful woman was his mother, Wen Fu. Immediately, his heart surged, and an indescribable sour feeling filled his heart. In this video, Su Jingyuan's figure wasn't in it. Staring at the sky, Yun Zhongli and Madame Yun, who was pregnant, looked at each other with a troubled expression. It's too late, that's it. Protect Jingyuan, protect our child, Just as he finished speaking, a vast wood attribute energy in the mirror image repelled the surrounding space, and Yun Zhongli and his wife were quickly thrown outside. Two rainbows streaked across the sky. At the same time, Su Yi noticed that a faint blue divine light rushed out from the depths of the void and shot into Madame Yun's body. After everyone left the Bodhi-gu, a graceful woman in a green dress slowly appeared. She looked at Wen Fu and said in a serious voice, "Sister, can we go now?" Wen Fu nodded while choking, and then the two figures rushed out of the nightmare sea like lightning. The vast expanse spread and soon disappeared without a trace. Su Yi looked at the crystal-clear sky, and an indescribable feeling welled up in his heart. Just now, that was his mother. Just as Yun Zhongli said, back then, his mother saved Yun Jing at the bottom of the nightmare sea. Recalling the image just now, Su Yi was full of emotions. Mother Wen Fu expelled everyone at the last moment, and it must be because of that woman in a green dress. In the end, the woman in a green dress took Mother Wen Fu away, and Wen Fu left her things to Yun Jing. Su Yi clearly heard that the woman in a green dress called his mother sister Wen Fu. While pondering, Su Yi's thoughts were interrupted by Handsome Su's words. "Boss, what your mother left for Yun Jing seems to be the wood suppression heavenly stone." Handsome Su narrowed his eyes, and his tone was unprecedentedly solemn. "It is indeed the wood suppression heavenly stone. The iron soulfish's voice, which had not been heard for a long time, sounded weak. Hearing this, Su Yi's gaze became heavy. When he fought with Xiahong House that day, he was counterattacked by the mysterious light ball, and it was Yun Jing who saved him after using the wood suppression heavenly stone. Jing must have been taken away by the woman in a green dress, and it has nothing to do with the Long family. Su Yi sighed deeply. He could only make such a judgment because of the mysterious wood suppression heavenly stone. If the Long family had the wood suppression heavenly stone, why would they think of ways to open the Golden Dragon mystery realm? Since the woman in a green dress was his mother's sister, even if his mother was taken away from Sky Barbarian, her life would not be in danger. If so, Yun Jing's life would not be in danger for the time being. But where would they be? Beyond the Heaven Berserker realm was the vast galaxy, the brilliant galaxy, and the boundless universe. Where was the place to return? Chapter 2203. Beside him, Su Wanner had also returned to normal. She returned to Su Yi's side and looked at the sky in confusion. "Young man, thank you for bringing my bloodline in." In the abnormally silent Ice Luan divine ruin, the voice that Su Yi heard in the soul trial resounded once again. Blue light flickered as the cold voice faintly resounded. The azure eyes of the Ice Luan occupied the sky, and the bright sky instantly emitted an ancient aura. The ancient aura shrouded down, causing the sky and earth to change color. "This voice is..." Su Wanner frowned. This voice was both unfamiliar and familiar. Su Yi patted Su Wanner's shoulder. The primordial chi of the Origin Supreme technique enveloped Su Wanner, and she was no longer suppressed by the surrounding aura. "When you were still in your mother's womb, the Ice Luan True God sent a trace of its remnant soul into your mother's body." Su Yi told Wanner what he saw. Immediately, Su Wanner's eyes widened, filled with disbelief. Back then, those people were the only human martial artists who had broken through the Bodhi goo. However, for some reason, they stopped advancing. Before they left, I could only send out a trace of my remnant soul. I hope that one day, a fated person will return here. The Ice Luan True God's divine eyes flickered. A mysterious light pervaded the air, and a vast aura rolled down. "Phoenix, long time no see. You've finally reached nirvana." The Ice Luan's gaze swept across the sky, and the heavenly voice resounded in the sky. Su Xiaoshui nodded. Although he couldn't remember many things in his mind, he still had an impression of the past of the 12 divine beasts. "Was that also your remnant soul in the burial frost ground?" Su Yi raised his eyes, and an endless amount of energy gradually condensed in front of him. The Ice Luan looked at Su Yi's energy and was slightly absent-minded. Soon after, it concealed the excitement in its heart and said softly, "Back then, the 12 divine beasts' remnant souls died one after another. I was stationed in the Nightmare Sea, but I was getting weaker day by day. Before I entered the Nightmare Sea, I sent out a trace of my remnant soul. That Duanmu Xiaoman is the inheritance of my split soul." Su Yi's eyes were clear. No wonder Duanmu Xiaoman's vital qi took the form of an Ice Luan. He didn't expect that there would be an Ice Luan clone in the burial of Heaven Frost ground. "For so many years I've been waiting for the fated one. I've also been waiting for the Demon Emperor's rebirth." The Ice Luan's voice grew weaker and weaker. It was the Spirit Demon Emperor again. The 12 divine beasts were also waiting for the Spirit Demon Emperor to descend. Who exactly was the Spirit Demon Emperor? Demon King? Su Xiaoshui's small eyes were filled with solemnity. Then, he shook his head painfully. The confusion in his memory after Nirvana gave little handsome Su a headache. Who exactly is that Demon Emperor? Su Yi's eyes trembled as he watched the blue light in the sky gradually weaken. He began to feel anxious. In the depths of the void, vast amounts of energy continuously surged out, and large patches of space gradually began to collapse inch by inch. Great primordial calamity, destruction of myriad worlds. The Demon Emperor has been reborn in the Sky Barbarian realm. He has attracted the origin of chaos and used the power of the demon race to save the common people. The ancient voice filled the sky. Then, in the sky, the mirror image began to shatter. The entire Ice Luan divine ruin began to shake. Ice Luan technique, the remnant souls here are beginning to perish. Su Xiaoshuai's eyes twitched. Immediately, a shocking aura surged out from his body. He was ready to protect the world. The Ice Luan gradually closed its eyes. The light in the entire divine ruin dissipated instantly. Su-Yi, you are the successor of the Demon Emperor. Today, I swear on the Ice Luan clan that I will protect you until you become the Supreme Demon Emperor. You will lead thousands of demons and reach the peak. Wanner, you and Xiaoman are both descendants of the Ice Luan clan. You must protect each other and follow the Demon Emperor for life. You must stop the primordial disaster and restore the glory of the demon race. As the voice fell, the Ice Luan's light instantly surrounded the three of them. As if it was whispering, it left a sentence in the sky. Phoenix, the new Demon Emperor, is in your hands. The Ice Luan's voice streaked across the sky. The cold energy instantly opened a gap in the divine ruin. While Su-Yi was still thinking about the words just now, a huge wave of energy surged like a tide and threw the three of them into the gap. Behind them, the world collapsed. A terrifying aura spread out. The huge aura was enough to make any living being's soul tremble. Bang! The Luan's roar filled the sky. The breathtaking blue light filled the sky and quickly engulfed the three of them. Surrounded by a misty energy, Su Xiaoshuai led Su-Yi and Su Wan-Er out of the Nightmare Sea. The whistling spatial storm in the sky was blocked by Su Xiaoshuai's blazing flames. Half of it was cold and the other half was hot. Looking at Su-Yi, who was shrouded in light, Su Xiaoshuai's expression changed. Within the storm, Su Xiaoshuai laughed softly. My old friends are leaving one by one. Whether you are the Demon Emperor or not, you are still my big brother. I will still let you lead thousands of demons and reach the peak. Turning his head, Su Xiaoshuai looked at Su Wan-Er on his right. His chubby face squeezed out a gratified smile. He said softly, Little girl, you are the descendant of the Ice Luan. You are my big brother's sister. I will also treat you well. As soon as he finished speaking, Su Xiaoshuai's eyes focused. The destructive flames behind him ignited again. A whirlwind erupted and rushed toward the gap. At this time, the golden bell in Su-Yi's soul rang. The sound was like an ancient Sanskrit chant, mysterious and sacred. Demon Emperor. This word was deeply engraved in his heart. The Ice Luan's words were still in his ears. Countless images appeared in front of Su-Yi's eyes. Divine beasts were killing each other. The ancient battlefield was a bloody mess in the Eldritch world. A peerless god of war with a towering demonic aura led thousands of demons. Stepping on mountains of white bones and seas of blood, he tore open a terrifying encirclement. Charge! Demons! Kill! Roar! The roars of the beasts shook the heavens. Bloody light illuminated the entire starry sky. The scarlet light dazzled the world. A storm swept across the land. Countless barbaric demon beasts covered the sky and earth. Opposite them was a dark tide. In the dark camp, pairs of sinister eyes seeped out terrifying destructive power. When the barbaric demon beasts rushed into the darkness, Su-Yi, who had his eyes tightly closed, couldn't help but feel a pain in his heart. The endless sounds of fighting and the roars of flesh colliding caused Su-Yi to fall asleep again. He didn't know how long he was in a daze. When a ray of light tore through the dark chaotic world, a fierce ray of light came from the sky and landed heavily on the outermost star region of the entire astral boundary. What followed next were 12 dispirited godly beast phantoms that also floated down to the mortal realm. When the ray of light collided with the land of the heaven barbaric region, the entire space was trapped again. The chaotic heaven barbaric region seemed to have opened a new era. Lord Demon Emperor, we are waiting for your rebirth. The 12 of us have split our souls into two. Half of our souls are in the Nightmare Sea. The other half will follow your footsteps and live and die together with the Chaos Bell. Chapter 2204. When the Chaos Bell is completely reborn, we will also be reborn. When the time comes, I will fight for you again. We will sweep across the land, destroy the gods and demons, and protect the Demon Emperor Palace. Demon Emperor, we will wait for your return. The Demon Celestial Realm will not forget your name. The people of the Demon Celestial Realm will wait for your return. Boom. Heaven and earth shook as the galaxy flowed. Thousands of galaxies turned upside down. The shadows of 12 ferocious divine beasts circled in the galaxy. Their huge bodies were gradually hidden in the endless darkness. The roars of the beasts reverberated through the clouds. In the chaotic sky barbarian, it was like dawn. After the bright light flashed, heaven and earth returned to normal. It was as if from this moment on, the sky barbarian land was no longer lifeless. Everything was growing and the vitality of heaven and earth was flourishing. Sui also fell into a deep slumber amidst the changes of scenes. In these illusions, Sui felt as if he had lived through thousands of generations, thousands of eras, thousands of autumns and thousands of years. In the Yun family's mountain boundary, there was a magnificent building in the dreamy mountain mist. After coming out of the Black Sea, Yun Zhongli met up with Yu Wugo and the others. In the rising cloud palace, Yun Zhongli captured all the experts, family members, and disciples of the Gongyang family, Lu family, and Wuma family for interrogation. After the interrogation, the conclusion was that the Wuma family had indeed colluded with the Long family. After the Lu family found out about the Wuma family's conspiracy, not only did they not oppose it, they were even willing to become the Wuma family's lackeys. The most pitiful one was the Gongyang family. After Gongyang Wuming knew that his grandson had committed such a heinous crime, he beat his chest and stamped his feet, crying uncontrollably. The Gongyang family had already been humiliated in the battle on the square on the first day. Now that he was told that his grandson had colluded with the Dragon Sin, Gongyang Wuming was furious and was willing to cut off his left arm to prove his family's innocence. After that, Gongyang Wuming even threatened to use his life to protect the Gongyang family's reputation. Everyone knew that the Gongyang family had always been at odds with the Yun family and Yu family. As one of the 9 families, the Gongyang family for thousands of generations took the responsibility of protecting the ancient sect as their duty. Even though everyone knew that the Gongyang family's upper echelons were innocent and that Ram Star Plume had gone astray. Just based on the vile character of Gongyang Wuming, the Gongyang family had dug their own grave this time. In the end, no one pleaded for Gongyang Wuming. In the end, the self-directed and self-staged drama of Gongyang Wuming ended with him being imprisoned in the Yun family's death row prison. The Gongyang family was also temporarily removed from the 9 great families to observe the future. After everything was settled, the Yun family, Shintu family, Dongfang family, Yu family, Jing family, and Yuan family were all waiting in front of the rising cloud palace. In the huge square, there was a gloomy and oppressive air all around. In front of the square, there was a dense crowd of people. Some were excited, some were expectant, and most of them were curious. God! This was the first time in the 10,000 years of the ancient sect that all 6 great families were waiting for a brat at the same time. We're really going to die this time. We're still chasing after Sui. I thought that Sui would not be able to withstand a single blow. Miss Yun Jing was wrong. Sigh. It's all because of those 2 scoundrels, Gongyang Xingyu and Lu Linxian, who sowed discord. It's all because of the Wu family's bugs. Many disciples were sighing in despair. Their hearts were filled with regret and fear, and they all wore bitter expressions. However, they were mostly filled with hatred for the Wu family and the Long family. The welcoming ceremony this time was not only for the disciples who had participated in the dire straits of the desert sea to welcome Su-yi. Tens of millions of family members, outer disciples, inner disciples, core disciples, disciples of the 9 families, experts, and attendants were all waiting in front of the rising cloud palace. Everyone was waiting for the Emperor of Heaven who had saved the Yun family, the most amazing son-in-law in the past 10,000 years. Originally, Yun Jing was doted on by everyone and was the future hope of the ancient sect. Because she met Su-yi outside the palace, her whereabouts were unknown. Naturally, everyone vented their anger on this unknown kid. Today, the situation had completely changed. Because Su-yi had reversed the situation where the ancient sect was attacked from the inside and almost destroyed. Because Su-yi, the strongest person in the ancient sect, Yun Zhongli, had survived. How could this not be engraved in people's hearts? In the distance there was a small team of hundreds of people. Every one of them looked like a dwarf, but the Yun family never looked down on them. Because they were Yun Jing's personal guards, the little black robe guards. The yellow-haired little black robe guards who had met Su-yi that day trembled. After hearing about Su-yi's deeds, they were extremely excited. Miss Yun Jing, did you see that? The whole ancient sect has a whole new level of respect for young master. Immediately, every little black robe guard thought about the missing Yun Jing. Their eyes turned red as they wiped the corners of their eyes with their dirty little hands. High up in the sky in front of rising cloud palace, Yun Zhongli, Yu Wugo, Shintu Yi, Dongfang Tong, Jing Yiquang, and Yuwen Jian stood at the front. Their eyes were stern as they stared back and forth at the 9 great lotus palaces. No one knew which palace Su-yi would fly out of the desperate situation. If he could fly out of any of the palaces of the 6 families, it would be an extremely honorable thing for that family. Shintu Yi and Dongfang Tong exchanged glances as they waited quietly. Shintu Yi lowered her voice and said softly, "I'm afraid that after Su-yi comes out, there's no need for him to run away from being recruited as the first son-in-law of the ancient sect. The patriarchs will pass the ancient sect to him in the future." Dongfang Tong's eyes shone brightly as he agreed. Su-yi has contributed to the rebirth of the ancient sect today. If we can let bygones be bygones, there's no harm in following him in the future. That's right. Moreover, this brat is determined to overturn the Long family. This time, our ancient sect will not wait any longer. We must make the Long family disappear completely. Jing Yiquang had a long scar on his face. It was eye-catching and a bloody aura surged out. Phew! At the front, Yun Zhongli, who could no longer hold back his emotions, had a trace of anxiety in his eyes. "Zhongli, this is the first time you've seen this side of you." Yu Wugo's kind face was full of expectation. Previously, Yuning had told him all the miraculous things that Su-yi had done in the 9 great lotus palaces. However, the most important part was the bell. This was the trust between them, an unspoken trust. Yun Zhongli shook his head as he recalled everything that happened in the Nightmare Sea. Not only was Su-yi terrifying, but there was also the terrifying little fatty beside him. That was the phoenix. A real divine beast, the phoenix. In the Tian barbarian continent, there was no other divine beast that could be found in the entire 6 continents, 3 continents, and 1 ocean. With the phoenix and Su-yi, the ancient sect had the strength to compete with the Long family. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.